Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Monday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I hope you all enjoyed a stress-free weekend. And by stress-free, I mean we didn't have to watch the Eagles, put like needles just in our eyes and, cheeks, head, toes, fingernails. Basically what the Eagles did to us over the last 2 months, which has been making us more and more miserable as the days go on. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not in a great mood today regarding the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm in a good mood life-wise, but regarding the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm still not that great a mood because it looks like Nick Sirianni's coming back, which I still think is a mistake. They fired Sean Desai over the weekend. I love how every national media member ran with that story. The Eagles have fired Sean Desai. It was Nick Sirianni's decision. The dude got fired months ago. What are we talking about? You could have posted. I really do hope that there was a media member, either locally or nationally, that did the rough draft, and that when the news officially came out, they just hit send and didn't all of a sudden have to work on the weekend, right? Because we all knew this was coming. Was Sean Desai going to come back? Come on. So Nick Sirianni, it was his decision to fire Sean Desai. Matt Patricia's not going to come back. He's going to look elsewhere, guys. Matt Patricia is going to look elsewhere because, he's still going to be a hot commodity as a DC. Wow, he was such a strong DC commodity that he was an advisor for the Eagles this past season, but whatever. But it looks like Nick Sirianni's coming back, and if you were listening at all last week, I was saying over and over and over again that it would be a mistake for them to bring back Nick Sirianni. And as I watched the NFL this weekend, as I read more stories about the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend, I continue to get more and more upset knowing that he might come back. Because I watched football this weekend where offenses were creative, and it looked like they made adjustments during games. And as I read more stories this weekend, I read more about turmoil with the Eagles. Now all of a sudden, this guy's a problem. This guy's a problem. Howie Roseman is the guy that's going to be calling all the shots once more. We already knew that. It was just another long weekend, a weekend in which I just hope coming in on Monday I'd have an answer. If it came out on Saturday that Nick Sirianni would still be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, I'd still be upset today, but at least I could come in here and react to it. Now I'm coming into here today talking about him probably coming back, still being upset by it, and knowing that that's going to be the case, and just having to deal with it. And I still think it's a mistake. You watch this weekend in the NFL. We're going to do a deeper dive into this weekend slate of games. But if you watched the football games this weekend, you saw teams, offenses, put their quarterbacks in the best position possible. The Eagles didn't do that with Jaylen Hurts. You also saw quarterbacks make plays. Jaylen Hurts didn't do that. I know Josh Allen ended up losing. I know Josh Allen ended up making some mistakes. Josh Allen was still making Madden-like plays, as was Patrick Mahomes. The whole conversation that we had this season of where Jaylen Hurts is in a tier, there's a reason why I said nobody is Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes is number one. Right? Jaylen Hurts was not better than Patrick Mahomes. Never will be, and that's okay. I'm not trying to take a shot at Jaylen Hurts. Patrick Mahomes is by himself. There's a reason why he's by himself. The dude just keeps on winning. They're once again in the AFC Championship game. But then I also watched the Baltimore offense, an offense that had run schemes that were interesting, run schemes that you couldn't predict. I saw a Lamar Jackson-led offense that just looks dynamic because of his legs and his arms. Wow, shocker. Shouldn't Jaylen Hurts and the offense do that? Yes, it should. But the coaching staff was terrible this year. So really, it was a collective issue with the Eagles. And we're going to focus a lot more on the offense today. Shocker. I know we've been doing that a lot. But it's going to come down to coaching and quarterback. Because there was a story that came out about Jaylen Hurts and the issues that he may be causing inside the locker room. And I know people are going to be like, oh, what? Now also another member of the media is trying to hurt this Eagles team. That member of the media was right about something in the past. Talking about Joe Santoliquito, of course. Joe Santoliquito wrote a story this weekend that I'll dive deeper into as the show goes on about Jaylen Hurts not really having the best attitude, about Jaylen Hurts not really being the best leader inside of the locker room. Now, when Jeff McClain put that out a couple weeks ago, Jeff McClain got dragged all throughout the city of Philadelphia. No, now Joe Sanliquito is putting it out. And everybody's upset. How dare he? Another member of the Philadelphia media. The dude was right about this before. Now that leads to another question. Who's putting out this information? Could this information be being put out by the GM of the football team? The guy who had a story written about him a couple of years ago after the end of the Carson Wentz era about how he likes to control the narrative in the media to the point where he got upset with other people inside NovaCare when they put out information and it wasn't put out the way that he wanted it to be put out. So here's my biggest concern right now with this Eagles team. This Eagles team is not dead, right? Now, obviously, they were dead in the regular season after the loss to Seattle. This team still has talent offensively. Now, Jaylen Hurts needs to have a better year next year, but they still have a lot of talent offensively. Defense is a mess, but if you go into this offseason, there should be a legit plan that focuses primarily on the defense. You just need to go from bottom to league average. And if you're league average, you saw what this Eagles team could do. They were 10-1 when they were league average before they moved on from Sean Desai. They move on from Sean Desai, and man, do I have some numbers for you there. It just completely bottomed out on them. But I feel like we're starting to walk on ice. So we had the big snowstorm this weekend, right? I was down in Brigantine seeing my parents. And, you know, I'm driving over the bridge, and there's some areas of water that was frozen, right? And I feel like I wouldn't feel too comfortable walking on that thin sheet of ice, right? The water alongside Route 9. Because I feel like if I go a little too far, that ice is going to crack, and I'm going to go under. I feel like we're kind of walking on that thin sheet of ice right now with this Eagles team. We got coaching issues. We're worried about Howie Roseman and the decisions that he's made and the power that he has and the power that may impact whether or not coaches want to come here. We're talking about a quarterback potentially having issues inside the locker room. Where have we heard all this before? I'm not asking you to, like, Google map and look at football teams and where they're at inside the United States of America. No. This team, the Eagles team. And I'm not asking you to look too far back. I'm not asking you to look back at a Dick Vermeil team. I'm not asking you to look back at a Ray Rhodes team. Hell, I'm not asking you to look back at an Andy Reid team. I'm asking you to look back at the previous regime with Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz and Howie Roseman. All of a sudden, it's being set up where this is happening all over again. Now, once more, that team went 4-11-1. All right, 4-11-1. Doug Peterson's fired. We're wondering what's going to happen with Carson Wentz. They eventually trade him. So a totally different situation in terms of the talent of the team, record of the team, and status of the team. This team was a playoff team. They were at one point 10-1. But I guess it doesn't really matter how you get there or what the overall record is if over the span of 2 months, it seems like everybody is lost. Now there's stories about Jaylen Hurts and Brian Johnson not seeing eye to eye. But Brian Johnson is still the offensive coordinator. He hasn't been fired yet. Has he not been fired yet because they don't want to do him wrong when he's trying to get a head coaching job? If he doesn't get a head coaching job, is he going to be fired or is it going to be too late? I just feel like we're all of a sudden walking on a thin sheet of ice, and I'm hearing the cracking beneath me. And that's starting to freak me out. Because this team, once more, is still too talented. That team in 2019, you had Jalen Reagor as your number one wide receiver, okay? That defense, yeah, you still had some of the core veterans that you had this past year, but that defense was troublesome. This defense far worse. But we had a terrible outlook of the Eagles just a couple of years ago. And then things started looking up. And my God, has it quickly kind of gone back to that? Are we on the verge of another 2019 Eagles era where we're questioning the future of this franchise? A lot happened this weekend that makes me feel that way. And And we'll talk about it all today at 610-632-0975. And Jaylen Hurts, we'll focus on that coming up next because there's that story that I mentioned, that I teased, and I'll get through it next. Joe Santoliquito, a story on Jaylen Hurts. And don't get all upset because this happened before, and he ended up being right. And that's what freaks me out the most, that we're heading down that path again. All day long, we'll be awaiting the news about whether or not Nick Sirianni remains as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, what they do at offensive coordinator, what they do at defensive coordinator. There's rumors out there. Wink Martindale's out there. Former Falcons defensive coordinator's out there. I saw Chip Kelly's name pop up this weekend. Holy hell, what the hell's going on? We'll talk about it all right here. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
I buy Desai. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Lowe's. Shop the closing event now at Lowe's with big savings on the appliances you need now. Lowe's knows home improvement. Shop the closing event now at Lowe's. The Eagles reportedly fired Sean Desai, and Matt Patricia is now set to move on as the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night. The Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai has been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. Rappaport and Tom Pelissero also reported that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. It was also reported by Fox Sports that a team source said that Lurie and Roseman would insist on Sirianni firing his coordinators if he was to return as head coach. And on top of that, Mike Garafolo reported over the weekend that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a name to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator. So a whirlwind of coaching news, but yet we still don't know officially the news on Nick Sirianni. As for the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend, beating the Magic on Friday night and the Hornets on Saturday night. Joel Embiid scored 36 and 33 in the games, extending his 30-plus point game streak to 20 straight games. Tonight, the Sixers host the Spurs at 7, live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Tough weekend for the Flyers. They lost a pair of games at home. The Colorado Avalanche beat the Flyers 7-4 on Saturday. The Ottawa Senators won 5-3 with former Flyer Claude Giroux scoring in the game. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Breaking sports news happens in Philly. We have you covered. Live updates, press conferences, insight, perspective, and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey guys, it's Pat Egan with a question for you. Is your New Year's resolution to finally satisfy your partner? Has the bedroom life been pretty dull lately? Well, I think my friends at BlueChew.com can help with that. That's because Blue Chew is the first chewable that has you going from apologizing for your performance to getting rave reviews and high fives. It's got the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, and now they have a mint-flavored chewable that has the same active ingredients as Levitra and Staxin. The best part is there's no awkward doctor's appointments. There's no waiting in a pharmacy. You just head to BlueChew.com. You meet with a licensed medical professional, and then you get the chewables delivered to your door in a discreet package. In fact, Blue Chew is so confident in their product, they want to give you your first month free. Just pay for shipping. Head to BlueChew.com and sign up. And when you do, make sure to use the promo code FANATIC. Blue Chew will send you a month's supply completely free. Just pay the $5 for shipping. So what are you waiting for? That's BlueChew.com. And don't forget to use the promo code FANATIC.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Hey, it's John Kincaid, host of The John Kincaid Show and three-time cancer survivor. I want to thank all of you who have joined me in supporting life-saving cancer research by donating at aacr.org/fanatic. And to our generous corporate partners, thank you for stepping up and supporting the AACR, the official charity of the John Kincaid Morning Show.
Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors will do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable this season. For flexible spending options on a new HVAC system, visit nopaybryant.com. With over 1,500 windows to choose from, Window Nation can outfit any home. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. For 24-hour emergency service on your HVAC system and home comfort you can count on, visit CarneyAllSeasons.com.
Donations to the American Association for Cancer Research from our listeners and corporate partners add up to big breakthroughs that benefit cancer patients worldwide. Why don't you join me and make a life-saving donation today at aacr.org/fanatic.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is, this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-501-3939. That's 800-501-3939. 800-501-3939.
When my daughter gets a cold, I have a secret weapon. DayQuil Kids Berry from Vicks. DayQuil Kids is specially formulated to treat kids' most bothersome cold and cough symptoms quickly. And the best part is that DayQuil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed to be resting? Maybe.
DayQuil Kids Berry. The kids' berrylicious daytime congestion, coughing, stuffy head, stuffy nose, just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6 years plus.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Hold on, someone just slipped and fell on my neighbor's icy sidewalk. Hey, need some help?
Yeah.
Okay, you need to demand Rand.
What?
You know, Rand and Mike Spear, the accident lawyers, they've won over $750 million for their clients.
Great. You think you could give me a hand?
What, go out in this cold? No, thank you.
If you need legal help, don't get left out in the cold. Call 1-800-90-LEGAL and demand Rand. Or start your claim online now at randspear.com. 1-800-90-LEGAL.
Hey, you. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic right now, and you're hearing about all these great opportunities from our sponsors. What would it feel like to listen and hear us talking about your business? More importantly, how will you feel when your phone rings with people saying, I heard you on 97.5 The Fanatic? Find out how you can make that happen. Send an email to marketing@975thefanatic.com. That's marketing@975thefanatic.com. The next commercial you hear could be yours.
This week's Pro to Watch is brought to you by Bradford White. Bradford White water heaters. They're built to be the best. And I got to tell you right now, Howie Roseman has his hands on the wheel of the most influential sports franchise in the city. But last year, he drove the car to Arizona, and the biggest game of all. This year, well, his roster decisions helped lead to one of the worst collapses in history, and they drove the car in a ditch. Now one of the most pivotal off seasons in Eagles history awaits. What decisions is Howie going to make to fix this? Will he once again be able to put out a fire that he actually helped set?
Right now might be the best time ever to upgrade your old, inefficient water heater to a state-of-the-art Bradford White Aerotherm heat pump water heater. It's eco-friendly, Energy Star certified for high efficiency, and will help lower your energy bills. Rebates and tax credits are now available that could save you thousands of dollars. How you heat your water matters. So ask your plumbing professional about the Bradford White Aerotherm heat pump water heater, or visit bradfordwhite.com to learn more.
On your way home this afternoon, the best show ever starting at 2. Now more with Andrew Salchunas on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Mondays on The Fanatic, presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. And it's 10:20, 10 o'clock hour, brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment, no payments, and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Okay, so let me go through this story, and then I'll get to your calls, and I'll get to Ray's thoughts. The phone line's open at 610-632-0975. So I feel like we're back in 2019 all over again. I got questions about the head coach. All right, whether or not he's going to come back. Remember, Doug Peterson was not fired right away. Doug Peterson was given an opportunity to come up with a plan, and I do think that's what good owners should do. And then it just kept on going and going and going, and then eventually he got fired. This is kind of what's going on with Nick Sirianni. Still no word about Sirianni and whether or not he's coming back, but it seems like he is. But it's going to be a new defensive coordinator, at least. Maybe also an offensive coordinator, depending on what happens with Brian Johnson. And my God, if you bring them both back, I swear, so help me, if you freaking bring back both Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson, we are going to have a major problem on our hands because it didn't work. It didn't work. They scored 9 points. 9 points against that Buccaneers defense and never had an answer for a blitz. So help me if you bring them back. Okay. Now, there's also the question about whether or not the quarterback is a part of the problem, which he is, right? Like, he did not play as well as last year. He did not. Plain and simple. He went from being the second best player in the entire NFL to a quarterback that we still believe is in the top 10, right? But at times, he looked like a mess. Now, I do think a lot of that has to do with coaching, right? And not just the whole Shane Steichen dynamic. I think they just didn't have a plan or an answer for the blitz. But a couple weeks ago, Jeff McClain, his podcast Uncovering the Birds, mentioned that there were some people inside the locker room that wish Jaylen Hurts would sort of change his personality a little bit, stop being so stoic all the time. And Ray made a good point last week that maybe it was some of the veterans that may be on their way out, like a Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, probably not Fletcher Cox because he doesn't talk to Jeff McClain, Jason Kelsey, like maybe some of those veteran voices that may be on their way out. Maybe they got to Jeff and put that story out there so that they know once they leave that the franchise, the organization is still in good hands. Okay? Maybe that's the case. Or maybe it's the case of, because remember there was the argument of, well, we loved it when he was stoic when they were winning. How come we don't love it when he's stoic when they're losing? Maybe when times are tough, you turn to your leaders and you look for answers. And maybe Jaylen Hurts didn't give answers. Clearly, Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson and Matt Patricia and Sean Desai didn't give answers. But the franchise quarterback's the franchise quarterback. You can't always just blame coaching. Coaching deserves a lot of the blame for how they looked against the Buccaneers in the wild card game. Don't get me wrong on that. But you're still the quarterback. And once more, I saw quarterbacks make plays under duress this past weekend. So here's the story from Joe Santoliquito. And please don't go throwing stuff at his car and his house like people did last time because they didn't like what he wrote about Carson Wentz, which ended up being true, by the way. So, some blurbs from his article. Sources within and around the team say Jaylen Hurts has changed since signing the big $255 million contract extension. His accessibility to media, fans, teammates have been limited. He became less accessible this season, according to numerous sources. In fairness to Hurts, who was very guarded to begin with, his defensive walls went up even higher, with the many open hands coming at him, pulling him in various directions last offseason, striking on his popularity when his brand was hot. Now that's, Jaylen Hurts' last name is now Hulu has Live Sports, right? Because he's now got the Hulu sponsorship. And look, that comes with being a franchise quarterback who's on the map. I don't have any problems with Jaylen Hurts getting more money, right? Striking deals and advertising. I don't have a problem with that. But people were saying that he changed, and personally, he changed. And apparently, inside the locker room, there were two versions of Jaylen Hurts. The one the public sees and the one behind closed doors of the NovaCare complex that the Eagles protect, as they try to do with Carson Wentz. The public, well, some of the fan base sees a leader. His teammates may not. Again, this is the story from Joe Santaluquido. Sources close to and around the team says Hurts should have been a better leader and is capable of being a better leader. He shuts himself off from others and he defers to A.J. Brown, who has great reputation among his teammates as a family guy and will hold himself and his teammates accountable. Sounds very reminiscent to Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz, if I'm thinking correctly. One source on the team described Hurts as a good dude who sometimes does not realize at times he's acting like a prima donna expletive. Multiple sources close to and inside the Eagles confirm this. Teammates wanted to include him in functions, and Hurts would wave them off. He's been described as detached, stoic, isolated, and unapproachable. Now, what team functions are we talking about, right? Like, I remember seeing the incredibly fake photo of Carson Wentz and Alshon Jeffrey at a Sixers game. I remember seeing Carson Wentz with Alshon and Deshaun Jackson drinking Hennessy, right? Like, that's not Carson Wentz, man. And I get it. You should try to relate to your teammates. But maybe at some point he goes, listen, guys, that's not for me, right? Like, maybe there's some things that Jaylen Hurts didn't want to do, right? Like, James Harden clearly liked living at the club, right? Joel Embiid didn't. Was James Harden upset that if he invited Joel Embiid out to the club and Embiid denied the invitation, right? There's some things that guys don't want to do. Look, I'm reading the story and trying to look at both sides here. Here's a quote from inside the story, or inside the Eagles locker room. He's not exactly Mr. Personality, but he's someone who will get up when he's knocked down, get up stronger, and he will do that on his own. He won't ask for help. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. From what I know of the other guy, he wouldn't get up at all or blame someone else why he got knocked down. That, of course, is about Carson Wentz, which that seems to check out, right? That Carson Wentz was a guy that it was none of it was ever his fault. It was never Carson Wentz's fault, whereas Jaylen Hurts seems to say, hey, that one's on me. But I found it interesting. Santaluquido pointed out a specific play, something that you and I have talked about in recent weeks. When the linebacker on the Giants jumped over the line of scrimmage on the brotherly shove, encroachment penalty, also took a shot at his head, and not a single teammate came to Jaylen Hurts' defense, which when we talked about that, maybe a day or two after the game itself, I did find that confusing, that nobody had his back. Now, I thought that was just a whole team issue, right? That everybody's dead. Maybe nobody even saw it. Nobody's paying attention at this point. Everybody's just realizing that the team is collapsing, and they're just trying to get to the playoffs. Or there's something more to it. And so, all of a sudden, it seems like there's more and more issues about the quarterback. Now, once again, in my opinion, I'm done reading the story. In my opinion, I still believe he was put in a terrible, terrible position the last couple of weeks of the regular season. I thought the game plans were awful. The coaching was awful. The play calls were awful. Now, there were some things to Jaylen Hurts' issues. The story points out how much slower he was getting rid of the football this year. Now, as part of that, him scrambling and holding on to the football, it was part of that not believing in the coaching staff. And I'll bring up the A.J. Brown team-only meeting, players-only meeting, where he says we have to start trusting the coaches more. Is that Jaylen Hurts issue? Tim McManus wrote the article right before the Buccaneers game that Jaylen Hurts was upset with the direction of Nick Sirianni's offense. So now everybody's blaming Nick Sirianni, as we should, but everybody's saying maybe he is cool with Brian Johnson. Then we get a story this weekend from Ralph Vacchiano, who covers the NFC East for Fox Sports, a guy that's covered the Giants for a long time. So he's been around the NFC East for a long time. He points out that Jaylen Hurts and Brian Johnson are no longer seeing eye to eye. So the quarterback is having issues with teammates, it seems like, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach. Now, you can't just get rid of Jaylen Hurts. You can't get rid of another quarterback that's getting paid a crap ton of money like Carson Wentz was. And I don't want to give up on Jaylen Hurts. I want to bring in a coaching staff that makes him play better. And now, full circle, we're back at it. That's why you can't bring back Nick Sirianni. And holy hell, if you bring back Brian Johnson too, we're going to have major problems on our hands. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. So your reaction to the story from Joe Santaliquita that Jaylen Hurts is maybe becoming a little bit more of a problem than what a lot of people expect. Remember, Jaylen Hurts was basically like the number one son for a lot of people. We did a show earlier in the season, and I asked the question, why do you feel hesitant to criticize Jaylen Hurts when things aren't going well? And somebody made a good point, that we were so critical of Carson Wentz, and that because we were so critical of Carson Wentz, Jaylen Hurts was such a breath of fresh air that we were going to do anything to hold on to that good fresh air and maybe ignore the bad, which is kind of a perfect story about this Eagles season. They were once 10-1, and we ignored the bad because they kept on winning. And then everything started spiraling out of control. Your thoughts to the story? Your thoughts that Nick Sirianni looks like he's going to come back as head coach? To me, I feel like I'm walking on thin ice all over again, like it's 2019. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
I mean,
what a world.
Yeah, so let's start with the Joe Santaliquita story. Once more, I'm going to say this a million more times. Don't all of a sudden get angry at the Philly media when this guy actually wrote a story just like this 5 years ago, and it ended up being true. Now, do I still think the coaching staff put him in a terrible position? I thought the organization put Carson Wentz in a bad situation, having him throw to Deontay Burnett and Greg Ward. You know what I mean? Whereas Jaylen Hurts is A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. But I think the coaching staff just couldn't figure out anything. But your thoughts on the Jaylen Hurts story? It's all of a sudden you feel a little troubled by it.
I mean, it's certainly a little troubled by it. It's certainly frustrating to read just everything that went wrong. Like, relive it, but relive it in a new light of, oh, wow, there's problems there. I think the redeemable qualities of Jaylen Hurts kind of keep me, a believer that this thing can get right. But certainly looks like he's got a lot of working on that leadership and working on what it takes to hold leadership in that place. Because that's the one big thing. Like, you think about his time, whether it be at Alabama, whether it be Oklahoma, like we talk about pulling from other experiences.
Right.
All of those stops are more temporary than what an NFL career is. Like, especially when you end up transferring. Like,
right.
When you end up outside of that school, like, okay, yeah, you did a great job handling the adversity, handling the situation you had at Alabama, but ultimately you go to Oklahoma, you do the whole squad thing, the entire team, jumps on board with you, and you're there for a year. So even if a guy isn't necessarily your best friend, or you don't think
you're only there for a year,
right? You don't need to win over that room for years on end. Well, you kind of have to win over this organization, this locker room for years on end.
Look at his best friend A.J. Brown. There's already talks about, are they not, the same as they once were?
And
sometimes you don't want to work with your best friends.
And speculating on that, but you look, the report that came out from Fox Sports with him and Brian Johnson. And I do think it's going to be interesting the way a lot of this, is leaked out. Like last night, I made a big deal over the way it was reported about the size firing, that it's Sirianni doing it. And okay, now that we're in a place where it looks like Brian Johnson, if they insist on firing both coordinators, where do you find justification for firing a guy that's getting head coaching interviews?
Right.
Well, look, he's not agreeing with the quarterback, him and the quarterback. Do I think that they saw eye to eye? No. Do I think the only problem within that offense was Brian Johnson and Jaylen Hurts not seeing eye to eye? Also no.
Right.
So I think and it's also interesting with the Hurts leadership questions. Like there is a lot that's being directed at the quarterback when, and he addressed it in his locker cleanout day. What apparently made me a great leader 6 weeks ago
is all of a sudden different. And look, let me make this clear, because even though I think he's done a tremendous job fixing the team roster wise, even though this year was a major issue, Howie Roseman did dig them out of the dirt when it looked like they were about to go into a rebuild. But I always have my antennas up with him. And that story that came out a few years ago about how he likes to control the narratives that go out in the media. Well, it's interesting. With all due respect to Joe Santaliquita, right? I don't remember reading a story from Joe in some time. I know he covers boxing more so than the NFL at this point, right? So it's interesting that when there's all of a sudden another quarterback issue story that comes out, it's him, right? I don't think he's, let me stir something, right? But when that article comes out a few years ago from The Athletic that Howie Roseman likes to control the narrative of the media, I find it interesting that we go back to the source about Carson Wentz, and it's Joe Santaliquita. And so now all of a sudden we have the story again, which is why it's so weird. It feels like it's 2019 all over again. And maybe some of these things in the story is, hey, he needs to work on his leadership skills a little bit. Look, he's got 4 more years left on this contract. So he's going to be here. I also wonder how much is this coming from the front office? To your point, to make it seem like Nick Sirianni was the guy and maybe it's Brian Johnson's fault and Jalen Hurts is not seeing eye to eye with him. So if he doesn't get a head coaching job, we move on from him because our quarterback who's getting paid all this money is the guy that's going to, still be here. So you need to get another voice with him to make things better. Look at what he looked like with Shane Steichen. Like, they're going to spin this a certain way where it looks like there are other issues and it wasn't Howie's fault. It wasn't Jeffrey Lurie's fault. They're going to do that. I just find it interesting that we're here all over again. I can't believe that we're doing this again. And if we are doing this again, then you have to start looking in your eyes in other areas. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Also, we're still awaiting the news on whether or not Nick Sirianni will remain as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe it would be a mistake. Howie Roseman aside, I believe Nick Sirianni being the head coach would be a mistake because he could not come up with a single answer against a blitz, to which is not Jalen Hurts' fault. That's the coaching staff's fault. I don't think he should come back. But now the story that comes out about Jalen Hurts, do you start getting a little bit more concerned? Do you feel like we're doing that same path that they were on a couple years ago with Wentz and Peterson? Let's go to Jim and Eddystone. Jim, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, Tunis. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Jim?
Hey, man. So, going into last year, so real quick, sorry, I just wanted to touch base about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. But first, Jalen Hurts, going into last year, me and my buddy agreed that last year was his year to impress us. Otherwise, we were in and out on him. And obviously he did. He had an MVP.
Yeah, you weren't alone. I think that was all of us. I think that was me. I'll tell you right now, it was me, and the Eagles told you that because the Eagles tried trading up for Zach Wilson. They tried trading for Russell Wilson. There was talks about Aaron Rodgers. Like, the Eagles themselves told you they weren't fully bought in on Jalen Hurts, and then Jalen Hurts had the MVP-like season he had last year, and that changed everything for the good.
Absolutely. And then thank God we didn't get Zach Wilson, to be honest.
Oh, my God, yeah. No, seriously. Even the way Jalen Hurts played down the stretch, I'd still take him over Zach Wilson.
Yes. Him on his bad day is better than Wilson on his best day. And I think having such a great season last year kind of kept me on the fence with him, regardless of his struggles this year. Like, we know he still has it in him. But then also regarding Sirianni, like, I asked myself, like, the guy has 30 wins in 3 seasons. We make playoffs every year. Like, how do you fire him, right? But then also, you guys make a great point of his media debacles, and I think we just need a good change. And I think starting with Sirianni, maybe Johnson can flourish in a different scheme fit, So, I mean, if not one, the other has to go for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can't retain both of them. You can't. Like, if Sirianni comes back, he needs – and there's enough reports already that he's going to be looking at both coordinator positions. So it looks like Brian Johnson's all but gone. I think they're holding on to him out of respect to help him try to get a head coaching job because, as Ray said, it would look bad for Brian Johnson to be fired when he's trying to get a head coaching job. It would also look bad for the Eagles to fire a potential head coach as an offensive coordinator.
And nonetheless, he had 11 wins. We could say what we want about it, but he had on paper, productive season. As much as it was hard to watch.
Yeah, but here's the deal, and that's the one area I'll disagree with you, Jim. They had 11 wins, but they're at one point 10-1. And then when the league made their adjustments to the Eagles offense, and thanks for the call, Jim. When the league made their adjustments to the Eagles offense, the coaching staff, let me be clear about that. The coaching staff never had an answer. Never. Both Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson. Which is why I don't want both of them back. Let's go to Derek in North Philly. Derek, you're on the Fanatic.
Yo, what's going on, man?
What's up, D?
Listen, man, I can't believe we get ready to start this narrative about my man Jalen Hurts.
I just can't believe we're back. This was 5 years ago.
Listen. The reason why, first of all, anybody that plays football professionally on the streets, if you need another dude to motivate you to play hard, you don't need to play sports at all. I tell my grandson, yo, when you out there, I don't care if y'all getting blown out. Did you give 100%? If nobody can look in the mirror and say they gave 100% on this team, then they need to go. I don't care. Jalen Hurts give 100%. Now, I don't think he has confidence in the offensive play calling. That's why they was always shaking their head.
Right, and that's why there's reports that, he was making changes at the line of scrimmage. Now those changes weren't necessarily great either because it didn't work, but it shouldn't be like that every single play.
But listen, if you don't have the players to do, first of all,
they got the players.
Without A.J. Brown didn't play last game.
You got Devontae Smith.
He was the only one playing. But you had to use everybody else to help try to block on the blitz. So you got one receiver.
Yes.
What team, seriously, what team do you know that even look at San Fran. When Debo went out, they struggled. You need a lot of different components.
Well, he does have Dallas Goedert, who's still a pretty damn good tight end.
But Goddard had to help block, which
Yeah.
they never adjusted for the blitz. So when Jaylen Hurts got a scramble, as soon as he hiking the ball, it's 3 dudes chasing him. And then he throw it away to get sacked, which,
Yeah, and to me, that's the coaching staff.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So why are we starting with Jaylen Hurts? Let's start with the coaching staff first before you start saying he's Carson Wentz or this and that. You understand what I'm saying? That don't make sense to me.
Well, look again, Derek. You gotta hear me out. I do find it interesting that this is coming out all of a sudden because I've mentioned this a few times now on the show. There was an article a couple years ago about how Howie Roseman likes to put things out to the media the way he sees fit. So I wonder if this is also a way to try to be like, hey, it wasn't Nick Sirianni's fault. It was Jalen's fault. But Jalen's getting paid a lot of money, and we're going to try to make this work. We're going to bring in a coordinator to make him better and blah, 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 blah.
See, right. Now, see, this is my thing with that. We got the money. Everybody always talk about a contract when the player does bad. They gonna make a lot of money no matter what. It's players that's make a minimum in there that shouldn't be getting paid minimum, but they playing football. Stop looking at their contracts and let's look at their play.
Well, you have to look at the contracts, Derek, and I appreciate the call. You have to look at the contract because if Jaylen Hurts ends up being trash, which I don't think that's the case, you're gonna go, oh my God, think about all those players they couldn't sign because they paid this guy all that money. I mean, we talk about contracts all the time in sports. Baseball's the only one where it doesn't matter because there's no cap. But how many times? Oh, you can't give that guy the max because if you give that guy the max and he's not really all that good, then you're going to miss out on other players in the NBA. So you have to look at contracts. You do. Your thoughts on this story about Jaylen Hurts? A little damning. Leadership qualities aren't great. He's dismissive of teammates apparently when it comes to functions. There's been stories about him and Brian Johnson not seeing eye to eye. We already know about the Nick Sirianni disconnect with him. All of a sudden, we're reaching an area where we were 5 years ago. Not as bad, but it's not heading in the right direction. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. 610-632-0975. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, if you've been watching the NFL playoffs from the sidelines, well, all of us have, there's time to get on the game with FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can bet this Sunday's conference championship games with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you got to do is place your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Use that $5 bet on the SGP of the first game, right? Try to get a big payout. And if it doesn't hit, well, you're going to have $150 in bonus bets guaranteed, okay? Try to do an SGP. Try to win $1,000, $2,000 on a $5 bet. If it doesn't hit, $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Now get started with $150 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/Fanatic to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Fanatic and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner in the NFL. You got to be 21 plus and present in PA. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Defensive staff overhaul. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Discover. Discover wants everyone to feel special with live 24/7 customer service. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply. The Eagles fired defensive coordinator Sean Desai, and Matt Patricia is set to move on. As NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night, the Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai has been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. Rappaport and Tom Pelissero also reporting that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. It also was reported by Fox Sports that a team source said that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman would insist on Nick Sirianni firing his coordinators if he was to return. On top of that, Mike Garafolo reported that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator job. All this happening while Brian Johnson is interviewing for head coaching jobs, and we still don't know the future of head coach Nick Sirianni officially from the team. The 76ers won a pair of road games over the weekend, beating the Magic on Friday night. The Hornets on Saturday night. Joel Embiid scored 36 and 33 in the games, extending his 30-point game streak to 20 straight games. Tonight, the Sixers host the Spurs at 7. Catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And a tough weekend for the Flyers. They lost a pair of games this weekend. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Paul Reed, reminding you every 76ers game, home and away, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The big plays, the moments that matter. Mo Bamba here to tell you that this is the radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, you can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value goes up. You're not paying interest for 5 years, and you get 50% off every style of window. Do your window shopping online at windownation.com. Every size, every style, every color. They've got all the options to fit your budget and your home. Call 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The next era of the world's fastest-growing esport has arrived. The superstar game Valorant has entered its 4th year since release and has officially rolled out its major 8.0 patch. Beyond further fleshing out its groundbreaking premier tournament system, major reworks have been made to the Icebox and Lotus maps. As Valorant continues to evolve, casual and professional players alike keep giving the game the love it deserves.
The latest esports and gaming news. Find it online at checkpointxp.com.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
In sports, if someone misses their assignment, your team is in deep shit. The same is true for your building's water and wastewater pump system. If one pump goes down, you'll be knee-deep in, well, you get the picture. Trust Pumpman Philly to troubleshoot, repair, rebuild, and maintain the commercial, industrial, or municipal water and wastewater pump system in your building or facility. Call Pumpman Philly at 833-559-PUMP or visit pumpmanphilly.com. Pumpman Philly, the guys to know to fix your flow.
And now a message from Puffs Plus Lotion Tissues. Ordinary tissues can leave you with a red nose, so choose Puffs Plus Lotion for all of your blows. Puffs have lotion to soothe sensitive skin, so you can wipe without wincing. It's a win-win. Puffs have cushiony thickness, which brings relief too, so the days of sore red noses are gone and through. When you're after soothing softness, a nose in need deserves Puffs indeed.
Every big game requires big snacks. Don't fumble your snacking duties. Munch the good vibe on game day with Wise Snacks. Your crowd will go wild for Wise Snacks. Grab a bag of Golden Original potato chips, cheese doodles, Wise popcorn, or scoop and score some extra flavor with Ridgie's. Perfect for dips, salsas, and guac. In honor of the big game, Wise is giving away authentic pro football jerseys to 100 lucky fans. Go to wisegameday.com for your chance to win and flex your football fandom. Find Wise Snacks at your local ShopRite.
Attention car buyers. Are you looking for the perfect Jeep in your price range? Vidian Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the widest selection and most competitive pricing in the Delaware Valley. Dozens of Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, and Compass are waiting to be driven off the lot today. For over 70 years, the Vidian family has been treating everyone with respect, fairness, and honesty. Stop in today and drive home in a gorgeous Jeep with a low monthly payment. Shop Vidian.com 24/7. That's Vidian.com.
Hey, it's John Kincaid, host of The John Kincaid Show and 3-time cancer survivor. I want to thank all of you who have joined me in supporting life-saving cancer research by donating at aacr.org/fanatic. And to our generous corporate partners, thank you for stepping up and supporting the AACR, the official charity of the John Kincaid Morning Show.
Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors will do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable this season. For flexible spending options on a new HVAC system, visit nopaybryant.com. With over 1,500 windows to choose from, Window Nation can outfit any home. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. For 24-hour emergency service on your HVAC system and home comfort you can count on, visit carneyallseasons.com.
Donations to the American Association for Cancer Research from our listeners and corporate partners add up to big breakthroughs that benefit cancer patients worldwide. Why don't you join me and make a life-saving donation today at aacr.org/fanatic.
WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's the Midday Show right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas. And I got a little bit of an update for you on Brian Johnson that I'll give to you momentarily. But if you're just tuning in, talking about the Eagles still with Nick Sirianni as head coach. They got rid of Sean Desai and Matt Patricia this weekend. Matt Patricia decided not to come back because he's a coaching commodity out there. Right? He's going to be a hot name out there. My God, is the world of NFL, it is a fraternity. And you could just keep on getting jobs over and over and over again. The report over the weekend that Nick Sirianni fired Sean Desai, I really do hope. I hope, and I said this a few weeks ago, Ray, I hope Nick Sirianni apologized to Sean Desai during the firing. And not, hey, sorry that we have to do this. No, I'm sorry that, according to him, I made the decision to demote you. And look at what happened after we made that decision. Even though I don't believe it for a second that it was Nick Sirianni, I still believe that it was Harry Roseman. So then I hope Harry Roseman apologized to Sean Desai. You think he did that?
No, I don't think he did. But it is an injustice that at 6:45 last night, Desai was fired and there was not a follow-up on Patricia for another 2 hours.
No.
Those two guys should have walked out that door together. I don't care if this is just my brain working through this, but there is no reason why news about Patricia took 2 hours after the Desai news. Patricia should have been out of there. He did a worse job than Desai.
He did a worse job, much worse. Now, Jeff McClain put out some numbers this morning, about the Sean Desai, Matt Patricia turnover. Eagles started process of taking third down defense away from Sean Desai during the bye week. So that was going into the Chiefs game. It wasn't taken completely away until the week before his demotion. But third downs ended up worse with the bye dividing line. So weeks 1 through 9, Sean Desai, full power of the defense. On third downs, teams were 49 of 115. That's a 42.6% of getting first down. Still not great. Weeks 10 through 18, that jumped up to 49.2% in more opportunities. 65 of 132. Almost half of the third downs against the Eagles defense from weeks 10 to 18 were converted. Shame on Howie Roseman. Shame on Nick Sirianni. Shame on Jeffrey Lurie. Shame on all of you involved in making that decision. And I just knew it. I knew it when they brought in Matt Patricia that was probably a part of the plan. It was the oh my God, in case of emergency, break glass. And the glass broke, but there wasn't a button. Now the update on Brian Johnson. So Joe Person covers the Carolina Panthers. Brian Johnson no longer a candidate for the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers requested an interview, but they never met with Brian Johnson. This was when they were getting ready for the divisional round of the playoffs against the Bucs. So we read the report that the Panthers requested the interview. Apparently that interview never took place. They're on to their second round of interviews, and it looks like Brian Johnson is no longer a candidate. So that leaves another team off the table. What were the other teams that were mentioned? Atlanta.
Titans, too.
Titans was the one that I was going to get to. Atlanta, I don't think he's going to get the Atlanta job. There's too much finger pointing at Brian Belichick. Like, just it looks like he's going to be the guy that goes to Atlanta. So it comes down to Tennessee. And if he doesn't go to Tennessee, then what? Then do we get the report that the Philadelphia Eagles have parted ways with Brian Johnson as offensive coordinator, or there's just no report and he's back? Because if he's back, look, I'm not going to. If they bring back Sirianni and Brian Johnson, I'm done, okay? Like, I'm not doing that. It'd be pretty hard to do this for a living, not watching Eagles football. But I would be so freaking angry. So angry. You want to talk about over-the-top reactions? I'll give that to you. Because this offense was a freaking mess. Even the weeks when they put up points, it was boring. There was nothing to it, no creativity. They just expected to out-talent opposing teams. And I credit Jeff McClain for his podcast before the season even started when Nick Sirianni said to him, to Jeff McClain, on record, that they don't have to make changes to their offense. Just little tweaks. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep on running the same plays. Yo, Nick, the NFL is all about adjustments. Why are you running the same play? Why are you putting it out there, by the way? It's just Mr. Competitive Advantage. It's stupid. And you're going to bring them both back, Howie. That's great. Why? So you can have your little power control? It's ridiculous. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Ralph in Levittown. Ralph, you're on the Fanatic. Ralph, you there?
Hello.
Hello. Can you get me off speaker, man? I can barely hear you.
Hello.
All right, hold on. We're going to try to clear up your line. Let's go to Will in Brookhaven. Will, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
I'm surprised that nobody's not talking about Denard Wilson when we basically let him go when, the players were behind him to be in the D.C., and look what he's doing over in Baltimore.
Yeah, so he's been talked about, and apparently there is a report that he could be in the running for the defensive coordinator job. But I find that very interesting because Sirianni fired Denard Wilson.
Yeah.
So, A, if Nick Sirianni is still the head coach, is he just appeasing Howie and Jeffrey Lurie to keep his job by bringing Denard Wilson back? And if you're Denard Wilson, do you want to come back here after you were fired?
Yeah, I mean, that looks bad because, what if he would have stayed and got hired? Our defense wouldn't be looking as bad as it is now because you got Hassan Reddick dropping back.
Right.
Like, come on, that's not his job, man.
Now, I don't know that to be a fact. I mean, look, the Hassan Reddick part's atrocious, but, I mean, look, the defense talent-wise was not good, right? I don't know if Buddy Ryan would have made this defense all that great. So I can't just say if Denard Wilson stayed, it would have been great, but I'll take Darius Slay's word for it, who did say it would have been better had he stayed.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to talk about. Was like, why did nobody talking about this guy? And,
he's being talked about. Ray brought him up weeks ago.
I didn't hear it, but I would hope he would want to come back, just to because we're looking for a DC.
Yeah,
now.
but I just all right. So, Will, you get fired from your job because you wanted an opportunity. They didn't give you that opportunity. You're upset, so they fire you, and now all of a sudden that opportunity is open again. Do you feel like going back?
No, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And here's the deal. This could be Denard Wilson's big shot, or another team fires a defensive coordinator next season, and he continues to have success with the secondary in Baltimore. Let's say, Will, and I appreciate the call, let's say Baltimore wins the Super Bowl. And, man, that secondary is tremendous. All right, Denard Wilson missed out on his chance of being a defensive coordinator, but he stays for another year. Brian Dable. Now, titles are far different. OC versus secondaries coach, right? But that was Dable OC to head coach. This would be defensive backs coach to defensive coordinator, not all the way to head coach. But I don't know. That to me, that's something that I would find interesting that if Sirianni fires him and he comes back as DC, is that just to appease Howie? Like, that's the biggest issue with me not having that CEO coach, because I don't know who to blame. I mean, I kind of know who to blame, but the dynamics are so strange. It's so strange. Unless Nick Sirianni would, I don't know what his personal relationship is with Denard Wilson. I would feel a certain type of way, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine.
When I saw his name pop up this weekend, I was shocked. Shocked that his name popped up.
I was excited.
Okay, that's fair, but I was shocked.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd be shocked if it happened. I mean, I think his name pops up rightfully so, because ultimately Wilson's probably got himself an agent. The agent wants to make a donut. He's looking for defensive coordinator opportunities, and the Eagles are canvassing just about anything they can do.
Right.
And I'm sure, there's probably still players in that room that are like, hey, you remember when our secondary looked good? You know what secondary has looked good this season? You know who we told you to hire?
Right.
The problem is you got to put the ego aside of the head coach, the defensive coordinator. Like, you're almost working into and it's different circumstances, it's different tension. But, I remember what's the relationship like between Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz? Like, what's that relationship? Are you trying to create
He's the head coach of the offense. He's the head coach of the defense.
Right. You causing another, rocky relationship. And then on top of that, going back, you mentioned Brian Johnson earlier this segment. For me, I think Brian Johnson gets the he got a job elsewhere where he's the offensive coordinator and this. And, assistant to the head coach, assistant head coach, like where title changes, it looks like he got a promotion somewhere else and, two sides go their different ways if he doesn't end up with a head coaching job. Like, because they're already floating out. Like, we're at a point, we have not gotten the official confirmation, hey, Nick Sirianni's back.
Right.
But what we have gotten is an offensive coordinator candidate that was reported while there's still a sitting offensive coordinator.
Right, exactly.
We got Sirianni fired the defensive coordinator. The senior defensive analyst is pursuing other opportunities.
Yeah, he's pursuing other opportunities.
That's a text right from an agent.
And he'll get one, and it's terrible. He'll get another opportunity.
He's down in Atlanta. Him and Belichick. They'll play their greatest hits. McDaniels, it'll be fun. Be Desmond Ridder leading the offense with Josh McDaniels calling it and Matt Patricia trying to make that Falcons defense work. It'll be so fun for everyone.
It's the band that, like, it's Journey. The singer's no longer with us, so they hire a new guy who's tremendous, by the way. He sounds just like him, but it's Desmond Ridder. The rest of the band's intact. It's Belichick, Patricia, and Josh McDaniels, but with Desmond Ridder.
Yeah,
as lead vocalist.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder's not quite the lead vocalist that Tom Brady was. Yeah, I think it's more like when you go down the shore and you got like the knockoff. Like, this is.
Oh, come on, man! Those tribute bands. I love that they've
couple of them are good. I'll give them credit.
They've also gotten lazy, and I know this because I literally just drove down to Brigantine this past weekend.
That's right.
Tribute to Paul McCartney. How about you come up with your own band name, not just tribute to Paul McCartney? By the way, real quick, I swear, 2 seconds, because we don't have time for this. There was a billboard for a tribute to Michael Bublé. Now hold on a second. You know me as a Bublé's man. But Bublé is a guy that does the tribute to everybody else. How can you have a tribute to somebody who tributes to everybody else?
It's somehow the least creative guy had someone less creative than him.
Now, Bublé's had some hits.
Yeah, it's great that he...
But isn't that weird? Like, how can you have
you can't.
a tribute to the tributor?
Also, again, I know you're a big Bublé's man.
Yes.
There's I think we could do a list of 100 artists that deserve a tribute to before Michael Bublé deserves a tribute to.
I agree with you because he is the tributer. Anyways, all right, back to the Eagles.
Is that why you spent your weekend? Is that why you were down the shore?
Yeah, I wanted to see the
tribute to Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
Who's tribute? Never mind. We can't do that.
Another part of this story from Santa Liquido, and this is about the Eagles' offense, which is why they have to make a change. They can't. If Sirianni's back, they can't bring back Brian Johnson. The biggest gripe about Hurts internally, according to a multitude of sources, is that he failed to get the ball out fast enough this season. Maybe it was a lack of defensive recognition. Maybe it was his lack of trust in his options other than A.J. Brown. To me, that's coaching. To me, that comes down to coaching. Because the coach, the offensive coordinator, or the head coach needs to work with him in the film room throughout the week of practice and get him comfortable with throwing to other areas of the field, not rolling to his right all the time. I mean, that is coaching, working on that stuff. Jaylen Hurts himself said it in a press conference earlier this year that you can't practice the same thing and expect different results. So to me, that's coaching. Now, I don't care if my quarterback has a number one receiver that he feels comfortable with. That's one of my biggest issues that people always point to. Oh, man, he forces it to A.J. Brown. That's okay. If A.J. Brown is breaking Calvin Johnson's record, is on pace to look like T.O., all right, throw to your number one option. But then there is the craft of Tom Brady having Randy Moss but still feeling comfortable checking it down to other options, right? Randy Moss had, did he break the touchdown record that season?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He broke records, but that wasn't every single touchdown. Tom Brady did feel comfortable dropping it off to other players. Now, that's Brady. That's the GOAT. I'm not comparing Hurts to the GOAT. But Hurts will have to be coached into being able to check it down and not just force these wide receiver screens. You know what felt forced? Not throwing it to A.J. Brown, bubble screens. That's what felt forced. It felt like almost, all right, we gave the ball to A.J. too many times. Let's do a bubble screen with Quez just to throw him off the scent a little bit. And what really bothered me this weekend is I saw bubble screens work. It's amazing. I saw one of Travis Kelce. Got to the outside, scored a touchdown. That doesn't work with the Eagles. Never works with the Eagles. To me, it's all about coaching. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. Your thoughts hearing Nick Sirianni potentially back as head coach, even though we still haven't gotten official word. We hope to get official word at some point today. And this article from Joe Santoliquito. I'll get back through the nitty-gritty on the other side about the issues that are now happening inside the locker room. And to me, we're now walking on thin ice. We're back to 2019 all over again. Now, what the Eagles were able to do, and I will give Howie Roseman all the credit in the world, he was able to dig out of that. I talked about walking on a thin sheet of ice and falling under and going into the water. Howie Roseman was able to rescue the team, the drowning person under the sheet of ice. I don't know if you can always do that. I don't know if you can continuously try to find ways to fix things when you might be the problem. Once more, Howie Roseman is not getting fired anytime soon. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I don't think his seat even has a burner underneath it. But I feel like we're going down this path all over again. The only difference is you have more talent on this team. You have wide receivers. It's not drafting Jalen Reagor and having Deontay Burnett and Greg Ward as your receivers and Zach Ertz playing with one lung or whatever happened to Zach Ertz. Collapsed lung? I think that's what it was. That's what that team was. This team's in a much better position than that team. That team fell to 4-11-1, had draft picks. This team was 11-6, won't be drafting all that high. Have a lot of money wrapped up in a certain players. And one of those players, the quarterback, Jaylen Hurts. And now all of a sudden we got articles that's attacking Jaylen Hurts. Now, Derek, our caller earlier in the show, was saying don't put this all on Jaylen Hurts. I don't think anybody is putting this all on Jaylen Hurts. But you do have to look at him a certain way. You do have to see that he may be a part of the problem. And my biggest gripe with a lot of Eagles fans is that it seems like Jaylen Hurts goes untouched. Now, there are some people that have their opinion on Jaylen Hurts and will forever feel a certain type of way about him and not even celebrate the good that he does. I get that. That's a problem. People have agendas all the time. But people also have agendas the other way. You love Jaylen Hurts so much, you almost are blind to the fact that he could be an issue. That this report from Joe Santoliquito isn't the first report about Hurts. So what is it? Is it just a collective issue all across NovaCare, starting up top with Howie Roseman to the head coach and Nick Sirianni? Do players not listen to Sirianni as much after it seems like Howie Roseman pulled the rug beneath him and fired Sean Desai or demoted Sean Desai early in the season and put his boy Matt Patricia in? And does that cause a certain thing in the locker room? Are we getting closer to 2019 all over again? Answer me that question at 610-632-0975. Are we getting closer to the 2019 Philadelphia Eagles? Now, granted, the following year they did make the playoffs, but try to forget that for a second. Are we closer to a team that we thought was about to go into a rebuild? A team that we thought would, for the first time in a long time, go through the dark days. We haven't really had many dark days. I'll go through the Eagles since 2000. Not many dark days with this franchise. Are we closer to that? And Ray, if you could put a poll up on this, that'd be great. Are we closer to the dark days? Right? Maybe where the ice is starting to crack, or is this just a little blip in the radar? And they will turn things around next season. Now, I heard Fletcher Cox last week talk about how the Eagles hit a little bit of a bump in the road, and that bump led to 6 losses in 7 weeks, 2 months of bad football. But maybe they can just get over that bump, that little, pothole in the road that doesn't explode your tires and cause your car to go into a flip, and now it's totaled. Hey, it's just a little bump, and you're fine. We'd love for you to answer me that question. 610-632-0975. Reset the entire show coming your way next. Also, I have a question about Nick Sirianni and the opportunity of him having another chance as head coach. It's a specific question that I would love for you to think about and whether or not it's right. Talk about it next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Bye-bye, Desai. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Wendy's. The Wendy's Biggie Bag comes with your choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich, plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. U.S. price of participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher. The Eagles fired Sean Desai, and now Matt Patricia set to move on. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night the Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai had been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. Rappaport and Tom Pelissero also reported that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. It was also reported by Fox Sports that a team source said Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie would insist upon Nick Sirianni firing his coordinators if he was to return as head coach. And on top of that, Mike Garafolo reported that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator job. Of course, that currently held by Brian Johnson, who's been interviewing for head coaching jobs. We still have not gotten actual confirmation from the team on the status of head coach Nick Sirianni. So what a whirlwind this weekend has been. As for the 76ers, they won a pair of games over the weekend, being the Magic on Friday and the Hornets on Saturday. Joel Embiid extended his 30-plus point game streak to 20 straight games. And now tonight, the 76ers host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. Catch a live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Tough weekend for the Flyers as they lost a pair of games. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers play here. Every game home and away. We'll have the play-by-play tonight. Presented by Corona, official partner of the 76ers, the Phila Cerveza. This is the exclusive home for Sixers basketball. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, it's number 59, Seth joining. Join me on the BetParks Sportsbook app, and you're in the zone. BetParks is the official casino and sportsbook app of the real Philly fan and the only app I recommend. Bet more than the score. Bet player performances like total passing and rushing yards. Bet total team touchdowns. Bet who scores a touchdown. And nobody does live in-game betting better than BetParks. Bet on the action as it happens. Join me right now and download the BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app. New customers make a winning $10 bet and get $125 in bonus sportsbook bets back. Must be a winning bet, and bonus bets must be wagered once. The BetParks Sportsbook is the only sports betting app that I recommend. Live betting, parlays, props, teasers, they have it all. Like me, I'm sure that you love to play, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
Must be 21 in NBA, New Jersey, Ohio, Maryland. Gambling problem. 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, You can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value goes up. You're not paying interest for 5 years, and you get 50% off every style of window. Do your window shopping online at windownation.com. Every size, every style, every color. They've got all the options to fit your budget and your home. Call 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
You can make that decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain for 2024. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, and QC Kinetics can make it happen with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. The future of pain treatments has arrived. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetics providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. Now, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. So get your life back. And by the way, it's non-surgical. If this year is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on the calendar today. Call 215-999-3000. 215-999-3000. That's QC Kinetics. 215-999-3000.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
At the Home Depot, we have savings on laundry sets that fit your lifestyle. Like Whirlpool Laundry with a 2-in-1 removable agitator that allows you to customize any load. Simply remove the agitator to fit bulky items, or keep it in to help break down dirt and grime. And with flexible capacity, you can finish more loads in less time. Final days to get up to $450 off select laundry sets from top brands like Whirlpool. At the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Pricing valid January 4th through the 24th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Comcast Business is introducing the Small Business Bonus. For a limited time, you can get up to a $1,000 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle when you switch to Comcast Business, the company with the largest, fastest, reliable network. Don't wait. Call or go online to learn about the $1,000 bonus today. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 2/21/24. New customers with Gigabit Extra Internet, Security Edge, One Voice Mobility Line, and Connection Pro with 3-year agreement. Other restrictions apply. Call or go online for details.
It's a new era of orange in Philadelphia, and you don't want to miss the Philadelphia Flyers hit the ice at Wells Fargo Center this season.
Pass in front of the shot. They score! Walker off the great feed from Tippett.
Be here for the Hall of Fame game, presented by Ticketmaster on January 27th, when Mark Recchi will be inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame. All fans will receive a commemorative Hall of Fame poster. Get your tickets now, only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
Ring in 2024 in a big way at Wawa. Get any 20 or 24-ounce cup of freshly brewed hot coffee for just $2. You can pour more of your favorite coffee, every mild, medium, or dark roast. And our new caramel cream flavored coffee with notes of caramelized sugar, rich salted butter, and warm, fragrant vanilla. Go big with a Wawa coffee for $2. Gotta have a Wawa. Limited time offer. Wawa's leveling up their rewards program. Now you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, you can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up. Unlock the power of choice with the new Wawa Rewards. Get the Wawa app today. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey. See full details at wawarewards.com.
On your way home this afternoon, the best show ever starting at 2. Now more with Andrew Salchunas on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 11:19. It's the Midday Show. I'm Andrew Salchunas on a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Monday presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options and a new heating and cooling system. An hour, 11 o'clock hour, brought to us by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Later on this hour, we're going to kind of run through what happened over the weekend and compare the Eagles to it. The way offenses looked, the way defenses looked, the way two teams in their respective conferences, championship games, how they value linebackers, right? It's going to be interesting to look at some of the teams that are the Final Four in the NFL and how you compare the Eagles to them. So we'll do that later this hour. Now, one of those teams just signed a player, Ray. Did you see this?
I did not.
You might have a new tight end to root for. Zach Ertz signed with the Detroit Lions. Just now.
Wow.
So their second tight end, their second string tight end got hurt. It's done. So they are signing Zach Ertz to the practice squad with full intentions of elevating him for the NFC Championship game. So Zach Ertz, the dream is still alive, Ray.
Kind of wild that you could do that at this point.
Yeah, I'm guessing it has to be due to injury or something like that. Like, like in baseball, you have your active roster, and then all of a sudden, if somebody gets hurt, you can make a change, but it's only because of injury. In the NBA, you have to sign guys by certain dates or they won't be eligible for the playoffs. But it is kind of interesting that all of a sudden you could just sign out Zach Ertz as a second string tight end.
Yeah, like what is Ndamukong Suh's waiting for the conference championship games to be over?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just needs an injury to happen to one of the teams, and all of a sudden he can play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
I mean, that's the way to do it. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely the way.
Collect one game check, more money than anything that we will make, and potentially win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dude, if you win that, if you're in Ndamukong Suh,
I wear that ring proudly.
Do you?
Don't even second thought.
All right, if Zach Ertz wins the Super Bowl,
he retires a Lion.
Does not tally a single reception in the two games. He's just there. You wear that ring proudly?
Absolutely.
Really?
You want to know why?
You did nothing.
I was the choice. You could have done anything with that extra roster spot.
Who else
you chose?
Martellus Bennett?
That's exactly it. Who else are you getting?
Richard Rodgers?
I was your choice. You chose me. They wanted me on this team. They thought I could contribute. It's not anything about me contributing.
Okay.
They put me on this team for a reason. They brought me here for a reason. You know what? I'm wearing that ring because I filled a need they thought they had.
Availability is the best ability,
That's right.
That's what they always say.
What if he gets hurt on the first play?
And they still win a championship. He gets the ring.
He gets the ring. I mean, that's you can't put a price on the value of his leadership in that room. He walks in, hey guys, I won a Super Bowl.
You might as well do it with Foles now. Have Foles in there too.
I mean, I would do it.
You need a good quarterback room.
Hey, listen, let's roll it out.
So we'll go around the NFL later on this hour and compare the Eagles to them. But what we're talking about today, if you're just tuning in, the full focus on the show is shockingly about the Eagles. But Nick Sirianni's still right now the head coach of the football team. But there was a lot of stuff that came out this weekend that is starting to make me concerned, starting to make me think that we are walking on thin ice. Now, is there another cold front coming that ice thickens and we're good to go? Or am I about to walk into a spot where it's not really fully frozen? I'm about to fall through. I believe this team is far too talented to be that 4-11-1 Eagles team, all right, where it led to what we believed would be the dark days of Eagles football. And then credit to Howie Roseman, who deserves to be criticized now, but credit to Howie Roseman back then, getting them out of the rut and getting them back into the playoffs. They also got lucky with Jaylen Hurts, drafting him in the second round, where it seemed to be a mistake to draft him then. And he's here, and he gets you to a playoff, gets you to a Super Bowl the following year, and gets you paid, gets himself paid. So the stories that come out this weekend, they fire Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, which is no shock whatsoever. And a guy like Wink Martindale is a name that's being talked about as a potential replacement as DC. Then, out of nowhere, Chip Kelly's mentioned. And Jim Bob Cooter. So you have two names that could be offensive coordinator. I don't think the Chip Kelly one's real. There's no way.
No.
No freaking shot in hell they bring that dude back into this building. None. Unless Howie Roseman's so sick and twisted that he goes, Chip. Come crawling back. You want a job, huh? How sick would that be?
I would be sick. I don't care about their dynamic.
That would be the most twisted thing ever, just so Howie Roseman could be his boss.
I might move out to LA if that happens. I might trade.
I would be here for it all.
Trade homes with Chip Kelly.
I'm almost rooting for it now.
No.
I'm almost rooting for the return of Chip Kelly.
You don't mean that.
No. I don't mean it in terms of like wanting good football. I mean it in terms of just the drama that would ensue of Howie Roseman being the boss of Chip Kelly now.
No.
It would be incredible theater because that's what sports is.
No, I'm not.
Greatest reality television out there.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll save the reality TV for The Bachelor.
It's not
I don't
scripted
need this
except for Patrick Mahomes getting fake pass interference calls. Other than that, it's not scripted. So now there's reports that they are looking at OCs, but Brian Johnson is still the offensive coordinator of this team. And then there's the whole Jaylen Hurts factor. Oh, they can't get rid of Brian Johnson. That's his friend. That's his guy. He's known him since he was a child. Then there's a story from Ralph Vacchiano, who covers the NFC East for Fox Sports. And maybe I'll try to get Ralph on. I used to get him on all the time when the Eagles would play the Giants, like that kind of thing, because he now covers the NFC East as a whole. That apparently Jaylen Hurts and Brian Johnson are no longer seeing eye to eye. Is that the truth? Is that, hey, this is why we would fire Brian Johnson if he does not get a head coaching job? I always tell you about how Howie Roseman likes to manipulate the media the way that he wants things to be out there. And I know as a reporter, you're supposed to get multiple sources, but if it's coming from the GM, it's coming from the GM. Now, to that point, Joe Santoliquito puts out a story. And I know there's some of you driving right now going, where did I remember that name? Why do I remember the name Joe Santoliquito? Well, Joe Santoliquito was the guy that wrote the article about Carson Wentz and how there were players inside the locker room that were not seeing eye to eye with Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz had his own little clique of guys that he would go to, right? He would only talk to Zach Ertz a lot. He wasn't seeing eye to eye with the coaches. He wasn't the best leader of men. All sound familiar now, right? I'm starting to remind you. Well, now all of a sudden there's a story about Jaylen Hurts. And once more, remember, Howie Roseman likes to manipulate the media. Anyways, he wrote this for Bleeding Green Nation. And there was a lot about Jaylen Hurts. Of course, the demise of the Philadelphia Eagles season. And it wasn't just Hurts. Coach, like, he wrote a whole story about coaching, the defense, the front office, all this kind of stuff. But because we don't really look at Hurts all that much as a problem, because we all think he's just this incredible leader and he's this great guy and all this kind of stuff, when a story pops up that he might be an issue, we need to talk about it. Now, nobody wanted to talk about it a few weeks ago when Jeff McClain put it out there. But now Hurts is once again on the map. And so here's a little bit from the story, and I would love to hear your reaction to this on the phones at 610-632-0975. Sources with and around the team say that Jaylen Hurts since changed when he made his big contract of $255 million. Apparently, he was already guard to begin with, which we know. But according to Joe Santoliquito and his sources, his defensive walls went up even higher with the many open hands coming at him, pulling him in various directions last offseason, obviously with all the endorsement deals that he had. According to those who know, Hurts, he would have rather been wiping sweat from his face, throwing passes in the Texas heat than doing commercials and brand building, which I believe that. Right? Like, how many times have we heard that Jaylen Hurts is just all about football? I believe that. But apparently, once more, the word change pops up and that he changed. There are two versions of Jaylen Hurts, the one that we see as the public and the one behind the closed doors at the NovaCare complex that the Eagles protect, as they try to do with Carson Wentz. The public, well, some of the fan base, he's a leader. His teammates may not, which is kind of damning, especially when we always talk about how it's the franchise quarterback that leads the team. And remember, the leadership group of Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, they might all be gone. Sources close to and around the team says Hurts should have been a better leader and is capable of being a better leader. But he shuts himself off from others and defers to A.J. Brown, who has a great reputation among his teammates as a family guy and will hold himself and his teammates accountable. Only fitting that Zach Ertz was just signed by the Detroit Lions right before this segment. Because remember, Zach Ertz was that guy for Carson Wentz. One source on the team described Hurts as a good dude who sometimes does not realize that he's acting like a prima donna expletive. Multiple sources close to and inside the Eagles confirmed this. And teammates wanted to include him in functions. Hurts would wave them off. He's been described as detached, stoic, isolated, and unapproachable. And but however, it was emphatically stated, according to numerous sources, that he's not like the other guy. The other guy being Carson Wentz. So that's good. He is not exactly Mr. Personality, but he's someone who will get up when he's knocked down, get up stronger, and he will do this on his own. He won't ask for help, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. From what I know of the other guy, he wouldn't get up at all or blame someone else. Now, Hurts is not blaming people, right? Hurts is taking the brunt of the blame. However, there was the story from Tim McManus about not really liking the status of the offense and the direction. So I see this tweet go out there about the story itself, and then I saw a quote tweet from Victor Williams. I'm sure you know who Victor is. So he puts out two responses. One, didn't hear a peep about any of this when Hurts was winning games. That's true. Same with Carson Wentz, really. Two, he says the source is probably Quez Watkins. Don't knock the source. Because I remember we all said, oh, the source is probably Nelson Aguilar, who was involved, but mainly Alshon Jeffrey, as we know. But remember, oh, man, Alshon's cooked. Just all I'm getting at is don't put out the whole, oh, it's probably this guy, it's probably that guy, he's probably unhappy. We did this before. 5 years ago. I'm not asking you to look all that far back. Now, do I believe Jaylen Hurts is some major issue with this team? I do not. I think that he is a guy that can bounce back. I don't think he's going to go through some downward spiral like Carson Wentz did. I mean, look, before he had his cute little win in Week 18 against the backups against the 49ers, Wentz played for the Colts, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. He played for the Commanders, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. I don't think that's Jaylen Hurts. And I don't know Jaylen Hurts. I've never hung out with Jaylen Hurts. I don't think that's Jaylen Hurts. But the only thing I'm worried about is that it seems like we're going down that path again. Now, you put up the poll, Ray. Is that true?
I did.
All right, what are we looking like so far? Is this on the midday account?
This is on the midday account. So at 975 middays, are we close to the dark? Are we closer? I can't speak right
That's
now.
okay.
I mean, it's only our entire job.
You're worried.
Yeah, I am concerned. I'm just very upset by this report, and it's taken away from my ability to read. Are we closer to dark days of Eagles football, or was the end of this season just a blip on the radar? And the options, dark days on the way, birds will bounce back. So far, 38% saying dark days are on the way, 62% saying birds will bounce back. Early replies here, John saying they're stuck with Hurts, so dark days are definitely ahead. And Dan saying, y'all so dramatic. It's one bad season.
Interesting. So the responses are polar opposite.
Correct, which is why you do a poll.
Now, 38% is a lot higher than I thought it would be. I was expecting more Dan Morgans to check in. Not John Morgans, but Dan Morgan. I was expecting more Dan Morgans to check in and be like, shut up. Stop being so dramatic. I hate Philly media. You guys are the worst. This is why nobody listens, blah, blah, blah. I was waiting for more of that kind of a response.
It's early.
It is. I'm surprised 38% believe the dark days are on the way. Interesting. Now answer that question for me on the phones. Are we closer to the dark days of Eagles football, or is the end of this season just a blip on the radar? I'm going blip, okay? I'm going blip because I don't think it will take a rocket scientist. Well, Matt Patricia's one, apparently. I don't think it will take a rocket scientist to try to steer this team back in the right direction. Talent on defense was abysmal last year, and we knew it. Now, that's the problem. When the fans are right, and not the owner and the GM and the head coach and the defensive coordinator, like, I think that's a problem when we point that out and they don't. But we also don't know cap issues. We don't know that why players go with other. We just assumed that the Eagles didn't want to pay T.J. Edwards. Nobody assumed, like, maybe he wanted to go to Chicago or his hometown, right? Maybe that's the case. Okay? We don't know everything. But it is kind of problematic that we pointed out that the Eagles had issues going into the season, and those issues were exactly part of the reason why your season ended. I think it's just a blip, but I do feel like I'm walking on thin ice. Let's go to Don and Malvern. Don, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Don?
Listen, man, I've been listening to you guys for a little bit, and first off, I want to say before I get into my points, that it's not going to be anything close with Hurts for what Wentz was. He was a head case, and a lot of the reports came out talking about that. So I don't even really want to defend that position, but it's not going to be anything close to that. Couple points that I did have, and then you guys can chime in, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So coaching. I believe that the coaching was so inept this year and so bad that it's really hard to properly evaluate any of the players, and that's including Jaylen Hurts. Now,
I agree with you there.
Let me say this. Now, we know that the defense personnel could be better, and while Howie does deserve some criticism, I'm not going to go over the top with that because he brought us our only Super Bowl and got us back with Jaylen Hurts. So,
which is why he's not on the hot seat, in my opinion.
Right. So perspective is important in life. But I think the coaching was so bad that listen, I was out on Sirianni early on when he first came in, but Coach won me over. And winning does that a lot. But I think the curtain has been pulled back, and you can kind of see now what's going on. It should have been a concern for us in year one, where it was going so bad he had to give up play calling. If you look at all the great coaches in the league, offense or defense, the head coaches, most of them are calling that position. There's a few, John Harbaughs and all those.
Mike Tomlin. Dan Campbell.
Right. And I'm going to say, if you are that coach, fine. But you should have been able to pull us out of the free fall.
If you're that coach, you have to be freaking great at everything else, and not just pulling them out of the rut. Don, you have to be great in game of time of possession. You have to be great with the plan of attack going into a drive. You have to be great with timeouts. You have to be great with personnel on the field, to which that was issues. And because Nick Sirianni is apparently the game planner, you better be freaking good at planning a game out, and that wasn't good either.
Right. I completely agree with that. So I'm not going to continue on that point. I think you guys kind of see where I'm going with that. But my last point is specifically about Hurts. And I want to say that, listen, there's a lot of people that don't like Hurts, that he doesn't play the position that fits how they like the position to be played. And that's okay. You're allowed to have, what you like. But now we're starting to get into, the downgrading and different things like that. But I want to stay on the field. Hurts definitely has areas that he needs to improve. But, again, it's hard to properly evaluate because of the coaching.
Yeah, because of the coach. I mean, so that part of the story from Joe Santoliquito, and thanks for the call, Don, when he talks about how Hurts deserves some of the blame because of the how long it took for him to get rid of the football, to me, you got to be coached into that kind of stuff. And Santoliquito puts out the numbers from this year compared to last year and how much slower it got getting the football out of the hands. Here you go. He held the ball in 2023 longer than it did in 2022. And he ended the 2023 season ranked 42nd out of 45 quarterbacks, minimum 20% of the snaps, and an average time to throw of 3.11 seconds. John McMullen made the point through 12 games that Hurts went from getting the ball out at 3.39 seconds as a rookie over a small sample size to 3.19 last season. So it got down to 2.86 last season, and then it climbed up. Is that Hurts not being able to read a defense? Or is that what happens in the week leading up to a game? To me, that's a lot of coaching, too. And once more, it just feels like we're doing this deja vu thing. Once Carson Wentz lost John DeFilippo, it wasn't just Frank Reich. Once he lost DeFilippo, who, according to all reports, was the guy that got on him the most. Once he lost DeFilippo, everything else went out the window. And maybe that was Shane Steichen for Jaylen Hurts. But it clearly isn't Nick Sirianni, and it clearly isn't Brian Johnson. So you need somebody in here that can be that voice. And to me, I'd rather just be a head coach. I'd rather start fresh. Let's go to Lance in Delaware. Lance, you're on the Fanatic.
Yes, how you doing?
Hey, Lance.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If you look at the college coaches had Jaylen Hurts had compared to Nick Sirianni, I would have more faith in Nick Saban than the other guy, because I hate to say coulda, shoulda, woulda, but Nick Sirianni, I knew he was a fluke when his first game back in Philly when he was hired. He tried the Philly special. Why would you try the Philly special to try to win over the crowd, and you're showing your lack of creativity then? I don't. Nick Sirianni needs to get out of here.
Hold on. Let me just say it, because look, I don't want Nick Sirianni back. But you say that now. But what were you saying last year when they were in the Super Bowl?
Well, a ugly lady in a dress, long as she got a body.
I hear you, Lance. Thanks for the call, man. What? Okay. I wasn't expecting that response. I hear you, Lance. Yeah.
We got a bit of news if you want to try and pivot.
What do
from
we
that
got?
point.
What do we got? What kind of news do we have, Ray?
Jeremy Fowler reporting that former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing with the Eagles for their defensive coordinator position, per sources.
Okay. A lot of people want him here. I like the idea of a veteran coach, obviously head coach with Rivera, as a coordinator to work alongside a younger head coach who may be in over his head. Now, the only problem is it's not like Ron Rivera's been the most successful coach in his career. Obviously, had the Super Bowl appearance with Cam Newton and the Panthers years ago. Yeah, I mean, look, if he's the DC, so be it. He's more established than Sean Desai. I don't even know if DC it really means all that much. You need personnel. You need players. I really hope that the Eagles don't go, look, we hired Ron Rivera. We don't need to sign a new linebacker. We don't need to sign a new safety. We got Ron Rivera. That would be a mistake, to not think that you needed to add to this team talent-wise. The number to climb in is 610-632-0975. Are we nearing the dark days of Eagles football, or is this just a blip in the radar, this final 2 months of the season? And now everything comes, not just the last 2 months. It's not just the games. It's now everything that has transpired since. Finger pointing. Hurts doesn't like Brian Johnson all of a sudden. Nick Sirianni, Hurts didn't like the direction of the offense. Now there's fingers being pointed at Jaylen Hurts, which I find interesting, right? First, the story comes out on Monday that Hurts doesn't like things about the Eagles, and now all of a sudden, 1 week later, there's a story about people not liking Hurts. It's just funny, man. It all goes back to this story about Howie Roseman, how he likes to manipulate the media. He likes it to drive out the information the way he sees fit. Man, I think we're just walking on thin ice. I just hope we have another cold front coming. That's what I'm gonna keep on saying. That's what I'm going to keep on saying, and I do believe that's the case. But there's still a lot that they need to fix. And there's a lot that they need to change, because if you watched football this weekend, are the Eagles more further back than we thought they were? We'll run through some of the games this weekend, what we saw, what stood out, what we really liked that the Eagles don't do. And, man, another chapter, Ray. Another chapter in the debate that I don't think should even be a debate. But a lot of you in this trophy, everybody gets a trophy society out there. It's your people, Ray. It's your generation. All these people, it's okay if you make a major mistake. We'll give you the football back. We'll talk about the touchback rule once more right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Defensive staff overhaul. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Indeed.com. Make the hiring process work for you with Indeed's end-to-end hiring solution. You can attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Start Indeed.com/credit. The Eagles fired Sean Desai, and Matt Patricia now set to move on, as NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night that Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai had been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. Rappaport and Tom Pelissero also reported that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract in pursuit of other opportunities. And now, just coming across the wire here, the ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing for the Eagles defensive coordinator job as they search for a new leader for that defense. It was also reported this weekend by Fox Sports that a team source said Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie would insist upon Nick Sirianni firing his coordinators if he was to return as head coach. On top of that, Mike Garafolo reporting that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator job, which is currently held by Brian Johnson, who's been interviewing for head coaching jobs. And we still don't have guaranteed status on the head coach Nick Sirianni. So just the whole whirlwind of coaching news and a lot of confusion across the board. As for the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend. Joel Embiid continued his 30-plus point game streak. And tonight, the 76ers host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. You catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The big plays, the moments that matter. Tyrese Maxey here to tell you this is the radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers. 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is DeAnthony Melton reminding you every Sixers game, home and away, is right here. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey guys, it's Pat Egan, and I want you to start 2024 off with a bang. I'm talking a big bang. A bang like your partner hasn't seen in years, maybe? All you have to do is hit up my friends at Blue Chew. You might be asking what Blue Chew is. Well, Blue Chew is the first chewable that has the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but it's at a fraction of the cost. There's no going to a doctor. There's no going to a pharmacy. Because when you head to BlueChew.com, it's one-stop shopping. You go to BlueChew.com, you meet with a licensed medical professional, and then those chewables are shipped to your door in a discreet package. So nobody knows but you and your satisfied partner. But here's how confident Blue Chew is that you and your partner will be satisfied. They want to give you your first month completely free. All they're asking you to do is pay the $5 for shipping. Head to BlueChew.com right now and sign up. Make sure to use the promo code FANATIC when you do, and they're going to send you your first month completely free. You just got to pay that $5. So what are you waiting for? Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code FANATIC at checkout. It can truly be a new year and a new you. All thanks to Blue Chew.
This winter, cozy up to a home that's perfectly yours with Preferred Pros. From skilled craftsmen and expert designers to top veterinarians and relaxing pools and spas, we've got the best recommendations for you. Let us help you make your dream project a reality. Your home, your life, our professionals. Connect with Preferred Pros you can trust.
Bachman's Roofing is your local award-winning roofer. Now's the time to inspect your roof and protect your number one asset. Visit bachmansroofing.com to schedule a consultation and learn about financing options.
Chris Services, experienced electrical contractors located in Elmer, New Jersey, providing a wide variety of projects and services for residential, commercial, and industrial customers. 24-hour emergency service, 7 days a week.
Today's laundry rooms are used for so much more than just laundry. Transform your space with help from Bella Systems Philly. For a free consultation, visit bellasystemsphilly.com.
Check out Preferred Pros today. This paid program is sponsored by businesses highly rated by actual customers. For more details on Preferred Pros, visit 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, it's John Kincaid, host of The John Kincaid Show and three-time cancer survivor. I want to thank all of you who have joined me in supporting life-saving cancer research by donating at aacr.org/fanatic. And to our generous corporate partners, thank you for stepping up and supporting the AACR, the official charity of the John Kincaid Morning Show.
Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors will do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable this season. For flexible spending options on a new HVAC system, visit nopaybryant.com. With over 1,500 windows to choose from, Window Nation can outfit any home. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. For 24-hour emergency service on your HVAC system and home comfort you can count on, visit carneyallseasons.com.
Donations to the American Association for Cancer Research from our listeners and corporate partners add up to big breakthroughs that benefit cancer patients worldwide. Why don't you join me and make a life-saving donation today at aacr.org/fanatic.
You're all set with your Medicare prescriptions, Mrs. Brown.
This is not just low-cost copays at Walgreens.
I can actually help you set up 90-day refills if you want.
This is having a partner you can trust. Get low-cost copays, 90-day refills, and delivery from your neighborhood Walgreens. This is being independent. Together. Walgreens.
Restrictions apply. For details, see walgreens.com/pharmacy.
Always night pads are designed for a perfect night's sleep. So you can do your bear hugging a pillow thing, your free falling starfish thing, your burritoed in a blanket with the AC blasting thing. While Always night pads with rapid dry do there, we've got your back with fast absorbency and up to 10 hours of protection thing. So while your period's doing its own thing, Always lets you do your sleep thing. Shop for Always in-store or online, wherever you get your pads.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic right now, and you're hearing about all these great opportunities from our sponsors. What would it feel like to listen and hear us talking about your business? More importantly, how will you feel when your phone rings with people saying, I heard you on 97.5 The Fanatic? Find out how you can make that happen. Send an email to marketing@975thefanatic.com. That's marketing@975thefanatic.com. The next commercial you hear could be yours.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, you can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value goes up. You're not paying interest for 5 years, and you get 50% off every style of window. Do your window shopping online at windownation.com. Every size, every style, every color. They've got all the options to fit your budget and your home. Call 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
WPEN and WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 11:50, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, awaiting word on what the Eagles may do. A head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. We know that the defensive coordinator position is open, and that the latest name to be interviewed is Ron Rivera. Now, Derek Gunn tweeted literally seconds ago, as I refresh Twitter, all indications are Brian Johnson will not be returning as the Eagles head coach, offensive coordinator. He will land elsewhere in some offensive capacity. Now, you talk about guys that are plugged in as anybody. Derek Gunn's plugged in. So he's saying that Brian Johnson will not be returning as offensive coordinator, but he's not saying specifically that he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere else. So he might make a lateral move, it seems, or maybe he falls back. I don't know. I mean, I know it's not all on Brian Johnson, but did Brian Johnson and the offense do anything this year for you to say he deserves to get another offensive coordinator job? We'll see what ends up happening with Johnson, but now it kind of looks like both coordinator jobs will be available, and that goes back to the reporting over the weekend that the Eagles were interested in Jim Bob Cooter. So now all of a sudden, once names start going out there, you know that the current OC is probably going to lose his job. There has not been anything about this guy could be head coach of the Eagles. At least I don't remember seeing anything like that. Right? Have you read anything that if Sirianni were to be fired, this guy, there's speculation that like Bill Belichick and
the only one was Florio, was the one where it was like, well, you know, one thing to key in on, Bill Belichick.
Did he say Belichick to the Eagles?
Yeah, he had one of those out there where it's like, hey, watch what happens.
Yeah, which is not going to be the case. Now, Zach Berman put something out that was interesting. Jeffrey Lurie back in 2020 was talking about Ron Rivera, to which he said, quote, he's a family member of ours. Stephanie and my wife play golf together, and Ron is somebody I really respect. He's a high-quality person in every sense of the word. So clearly he thinks highly of Ron Rivera. And then this goes back to the who's actually calling the shots with the coordinators. Now, I'm cool with the owner being in those decision-making, but now all of a sudden Sirianni's just doing nothing, it seems. He's going to say yes to anything.
Which is a bigger question, because if he doesn't have to say over his coaches, and part of what we're saying about the offense is that we would prefer he be less meddlesome and that we give full control of the offense to an offensive coordinator, like you sap a guy of all of his power and say, okay, now go be a leader of men.
Right.
It's like, well, Okay, so this guy's not in charge of who's in the building. He's not in charge of what the guys in the building are doing. He's in charge of us? For what?
Yeah, and when you make that move to demote Sean Desai and make Matt Patricia your play caller, even though Nick Sirianni fell on the sword for it, I don't believe it for a second. This goes back. We've had this conversation a few times. What is a player in the locker room thinking? Like, oh my God, this guy's got no say whatsoever. I know Tyrone was pushing that day we did the Talk Stars, and John felt the same way. I mean, if Nick Sirianni has no say in anything, why would you listen? Right? Like, why would you go, oh, yeah, sure, coach, whatever you say. And you walk away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's it. Like, get off to a slow start next year. And we're talking about with the Cowboys because Mike McCarthy didn't get a contract extension, goes into his last year. It's like, well, if you get off to a slow start, easy to tune that guy out because, he just won't be back.
Right.
Well, hey, this guy's got no power. We've seen all the power being taken away from him. He doesn't.
Well, and that's why I said last week, you keep him, it's Brandon Staley all over again. You fire the coordinators, keep Sirianni. Everybody has doubts of Sirianni now. I would imagine also Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. But now you're going into the season going, all right, now we have new coordinators. And if they go off to a slow start, we're now watching Nick Sirianni this year under a total different lens. We had the caller earlier who said, man, I didn't like Sirianni from the beginning because he ran the Philly special in his first home game back. But then didn't have an answer for me when I said, well, what happened last year when they got the Super Bowl? What were you saying last year? Like, he didn't have an answer. But now, going into this past season the Eagles just had, we weren't looking at Sirianni as a problem. Why would we? They were just in the Super Bowl. Now you're going to go into the season looking at him differently. Now, that caller also brought up Jaylen Hurts not being, like, basically any bit of a problem. Which, if you watch the quarterback play this weekend, you still saw some things that I didn't see Jaylen Hurts do all season long. Now, I saw Jaylen Hurts do it two seasons ago, so I do expect him to get back. But, man, this weekend's games, it was fun to watch, not Eagles. But it also sucked because you saw things from Baltimore with what they were doing with Lamar Jackson, with the ground game, with him throwing, and then what you saw with the defense. Wow, you have good linebackers and good secondary. You can hold a Texans team to 10 points that put up a decent amount the previous week against another good defense against Cleveland. You watch the Niners and Packers. I mean, we were talking to John Kincaid about this before the show started. Christian McCaffrey can be lined up in 8 different places on 8 different plays in a row. I remember hearing reporters say how DeAndre Swift was running routes with the wide receivers at camp and how he was going to be utilized in all different areas of the game. And then he's underutilized throughout the entire season. Somebody pointed out, I saw it on social media, I missed the play in the Buccaneers-Lions game. There was a play on a 3rd and long. Slant route to your best receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You attacked the blitz across the middle of the field with your best weapon. Now, the Eagles actually did go across the middle of the field 3 times with Devontae Smith, and they're all big plays. And that was about it. And then Chiefs-Bills, I mean, Andy Reid sticking to the ground game a little bit with Pacheco. It's just, I watched coaches make better decisions. I saw roster construction with linebacker play in Baltimore and San Francisco, and wow, they're both in their conference championship games. Does it start and end with the linebackers? No, it doesn't. But it shows to you that if you do have those guys out there, at least NFL players, you're in a better position. What was some of your biggest takeaways from this weekend's games, Ray?
Well, yeah, you certainly mentioned the linebacker position. Not just the obvious when we talk about the 49ers and the Ravens, but look in the Lions. That's a position they've invested in.
Yeah.
They Alex, last name starts with an A, and I'm blanking on it right now.
Anzalone.
Anzalone, there you go, right there. He got, I think, 3 years, 18-something from them. So they invested in that position. Look at the Chiefs. Nick Bolton was a 3rd-round pick of theirs that has outplayed what what he is as a draft pick. They were able to invest there and make that pick. I think Derek Barnes was another pick that the Lions made that have, he's outperformed what they looked for in the linebacker position. It's not, again, it's not committing $10 million per year to someone, and it's not committing necessarily a first-round draft pick. Now, the Lions did spend a first-round draft pick on Campbell, but ultimately the guys they're getting the most production out of. It was an investment, the draft pick that pays off, a signing that's not, again, over the moon.
And you know what that is with Detroit? It's also identity.
Yeah.
So Dan Campbell, you guys know how I feel about him. A little too much with the cannibalism and eating kneecaps and whatnot. But when they won their first-round playoff game, Campbell made the speech. He gave out 2 game balls. One was to Jared Goff when they beat the Rams, right? And the other was, I think, to the general manager. I forget who he gave the ball to, but he did this whole speech about we built this team based off of how we wanted to build it and the guys that we wanted in here based off our identity, right? You know, you're getting power running backs. I know it's old school football, but it's working for them, clearly. And it's nice to have a tremendous tight end in Sam Laporta and a tremendous wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. But they have an identity on defense. The Eagles had no identity. The identity is bend but don't break. The identity is please don't hurt me. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's a weak identity. Like, if we're being honest, like that Fangio scheme, the Vic Fangio tree. It's a weak tree. It's weak limbs. You can't climb that tree. No, those limbs are snapping. It is bend but don't break. But you know what? Those limbs, once you start climbing, you get a little too much weight on it, it's snapping. That's what these defenses are. And that's why everybody under the Fangio tree was in the bottom half of defenses this year. Everyone. I'm not saying you got to blitz all night. Like freaking remember the Titans. I don't want them to gain another yard. You don't have to do that. But, you know, when you have identities with these teams, the teams that are in the conference championships, they all have an identity. Now, the Chiefs' identity is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but still. Oh, God.
That Lions team also walked me down a dark path.
Why is that?
Because I started thinking about it, and I was like, wait a second, C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yep.
I was like, I remember conversations about Brian Branch and about how nice he would be. So they got both of those, that defensive backfield. And, man,
and they drafted a running back in the first round, too, right?
Yeah, okay. That's still not signing off on that. So you can wish for that forever. I'm not signing off on that. But those two in the defensive backfield, hey, you know, if you hadn't brought back Bradbury, maybe you make it different. And again, this is all revisionist by me. This is not like I didn't put this game plan forward to you.
They could look. I will not blame for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think that agent completely screwed up.
Yes.
Now,
he was my top priority, though.
If you're Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you're thinking you made the right decision.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're playing this weekend.
You're in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, you're playing this weekend. The Eagles aren't. But, yeah, those two and the little thought process in my head of, oh, wow, what it would have been like to have them with the defensive backs coach that made everyone so successful. You know, that we've seen. Yeah, you know, would have been nice.
Would have been nice.
Would have been nice.
But that's not the case. All right, 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. I have a question about Nick Sirianni that I forgot to get to, and also the touchback rule we have to get to. But I don't want to make people wait much longer. Let's go to Rob in Minnesota. What's up, Rob?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So I just want to throw some names out here at you real quick, but I do want to talk about the vets, though.
Okay.
What do you think about Leslie Frazier?
Yeah, I mean, I know that's a name that's out there. It's a guy. Look, I said it when Rivera's name came up. I like the idea of a veteran, former head coach, a guy that's been in NFL for a while, to work with a guy who may be in over his head at times, like Nick Sirianni is. Now, it did work, though, Rob, right? Like, it worked when it was Doug and Frank Reich. Now, Schwartz was a vet, but then it worked with this team. They got to the Super Bowl last year with two very young coordinators in Steichen and Gannon.
Right.
But I don't hate the name.
I was just wondering because I like the fact that, you know, he's not getting another job anywhere as a head coach, too. So you don't have to worry about him leaving, and then we looking like we do again this year, you know. So I like the idea of him being older and not being someone who will probably be pursued for a head coach ever again, you know. So he'll probably be a D coordinator.
Right, he'll be a defensive coordinator for the rest of his career, yeah.
Right. But I think the vets are the problem. And hear me out.
Okay.
When I say the vets, I mean the same ones who are still here.
You mean Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham?
Yes. I'm not saying all of them are, but the same reports are very similar. You heard back in 2018, 19, whenever the collapse happened. You have to look at that and say, man, it sounded the same. It's starting to look the same.
It's
Maybe
also the same general manager.
That is true, too. But I'm going to say this. I had the guy laughing when I said this. I'm one of them vets at my job. When things start changing and who I thought should have been there and what we should have did, what I thought we should have did, then I don't want to get on board right away. And the younger guys are always, they're ready to go. But when they see us vets start being in our little grumpy moods and we don't want to move, they get hesitant too. I'm just wondering.
Well, so that's the interesting thing. Ray, can you get the McClain cut from last week? Rob, I appreciate the call, man. Jeff McClain last week was on with me, and he brought up maybe some disconnect between the younger players and the veterans. And so Ray's going to get that momentarily. He's got it. All right, take a listen.
The team that they composed, I think in some respect, led to what we saw down the stretch in terms of the locker room, and there are obviously some great leaders on that team. What I was told from some sources of the team was that there was definitely a disconnect between a lot of the OGs and maybe the younger group that they had hoped to kind of take over for them. And there was a pretty wide gap between some of the older guys and the younger guys. And that made it difficult sometimes to get those guys to play the way they needed to play.
So he may be on to something, our previous caller, right? That there is. Now, I don't think you should then just completely ignore the old heads. Now, he's saying that when the younger kids come in, he gets annoyed when it was the wrong people. It could also be the reverse, where the younger kids look at the vets and go, all right, man, like that's not the way it works anymore, right? Like this is a new age. Times are changing. You get up with the times, old man, right? So there could be a disconnect. Now, you need veteran leadership in your locker room. You do. And I want veteran leadership of people who have been successful. Those four names, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, they won a freaking Super Bowl. So if you're a young kid and you don't want to listen to their messaging, I think shame on you. They won a Super Bowl. They know what it's like playing in this city. They've been here. They survived. People talk about how hard of a city it is to play in. Yeah, it is hard to play in. Or as Jason Kelsey points out from a press conference a few years ago, if you just buy in, if you just play hard, you're going to be loved here. And I do think maybe there was a little bit of a disconnect. I take Jeff McClain's word as gospel when he says that kind of stuff, right? He doesn't just throw that out there. And now there's the concerns about Jaylen Hurts and his leadership inside the locker room from the Joe Santaliquito story today, which is why I think we're walking on thin ice right now, and I just hope there's a cold front coming. Let's go to Tony in Glenside. Tony, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, fellas, how you doing, man? By far, this is my best show.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
By far, this is my best show. Now, I want to get into a couple of things. I think Jaylen Hurts is a system quarterback, and by them changing the system, he regressed. And what I'm saying is, when you play quarterback, you want to know where to go with the ball, how to go, who you're going to before the play. When the play is called in, you already know where you're going. Now, by them changing the system, it made him start thinking too much instead of.
But how much did they change it, Tony? Because Sirianni said before the season started that they weren't even going to make all that many changes. They were just going to try to they were just going to improve off of what they had been doing for the first two seasons. He himself said in press conferences earlier this year, we're not doing anything different than we did the last couple of years.
Okay, those 5 plays that they run every game.
Every game.
Never seen those plays last year. The screen, the bad run play with Swift, he's not even going forward. He's going sideways. He gets the ball, then try to find a hole.
Well, that's also part of the RPO, right? Hurts is giving it off to DeAndre Swift.
No, the RPO was they was coming across the inside zone handoff.
Okay.
And he was going toward the line. And that made the linebackers come up, and the slant came behind it. That was the RPO. But right now, I just don't understand Nick Sirianni's offense. It made Jaylen Hurts regress, and I think Jaylen needs to go back to what suits him better. Every quarterback is in the system. I hate that word system, but every quarterback.
Right, because it sounds like it's demeaning of a quarterback,
exactly,
right? Which
exactly. Every quarterback is in their own system. You had Joe Montana, you had Dan Marino. They was in 2 different systems.
Right.
Drop back, and you have.
Yeah, it's like game manager. People use game manager as a derogatory term, but
it's really not. Jaylen Hurts needs to play within his system when he does best. Now, let me ask you a question. What about Rivera and Bieniemy?
Well, the only thing with Bieniemy is he's now getting interviews as head coaching jobs.
Oh, but he's not gonna get it. So my thing is, if you can get Bieniemy, which I love his offense.
Mm-hmm.
I love his offense. And then you got Rivera, and then you basically, Washington Redskins gave us problems every year. Every year we play Washington, it go down to the last play.
So you're just bringing them in as DC and OC. I appreciate the call, Tony. I mean, it would be interesting to bring in the head coach and the offensive coordinator of two guys that just lost their job. Well, Bieniemy didn't technically lose his job because he's interviewing for the head coaching job. We'll see what ends up happening there. I don't know. I mean, Bieniemy's going to be a hot name every single year. Until he gets a head coaching job, until he gets that shot, until he gets that opportunity, he's going to be a hot name out there every single year as OC or head coach every single year. I'd be interested. The problem is, what does Nick Sirianni decide? Is Nick Sirianni meddling with the offense, right? That's the other big issue, right? One of my biggest problems, and I don't disagree with Tony about, the Jaylen Hurts and the system and all that kind of stuff. If Jaylen Hurts was saying, according to the Tim McManus article on Monday of last week, that he was upset with the direction of the offense since the San Francisco game, why is the head coach not listening to his quarterback? Why is the head coach and OC not trying to put his player, his quarterback, in the best position possible that he sees fit for himself? To which I told you, Ray, I really respected Sirianni in year one when he started talking about how I talked to Jaylen and I try to find out where he is most comfortable because he's the one on the field. To me, that's what any coach should do. Unless you're drafting a quarterback that you're trying to mold into your system, I understand that, but I don't know. Like, Sirianni's a first-time head coach. He's got a rookie starter. I know he wasn't a rookie in the NFL, first-year starter. Why wouldn't you want to try to work together to try to make the quarterback, who's the one that's on the field making the plays, as comfortable as possible? Why wouldn't you do that? And why did you go away from it? If Hurts was upset, was Hurts not addressing that? Was Sirianni not listening? Like, I can't wait. Hurts was asked about the article after the loss of the Buccaneers, and he did not deny the comment. If Sirianni's back, obviously Hurts is back. Will Sirianni be asked about that? Like, hey, there was a story that Hurts wasn't really happy with the offense. Like, was that addressed? Did you try to... And then, he'll give some you-know-what answer.
I remember back when I was at Mount Union, there was a time when I was upset with the offense. Now, I understand what you're saying with the conversation amongst all of them, but I think you have to wonder how much he started to meddle with the actual in-game play calling, and how much he began to meddle with what they were doing offensively, and how much Jaylen Hurts began to try and freewheel once he saw the two guys that were in charge of his offense.
Yeah, and then his freewheeling wasn't all that good either, and now that's another conversation about him reading defenses. But
just a conversation about what offense they had and what they were seeing, what he was seeing on the field, what they were seeing off the field, what they were seeing during the week. Again, this brain trust was broken.
Yeah.
The three of them working together did not work.
And to me, that's why you can't bring, Hurts obviously stays. That's why you can't bring back Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson. It looks like Brian Johnson will be on his way out, but it looks like Sirianni's going to stay. You better, look, if Sirianni's staying, he's got to stay out of the business. He does. What he tried doing, his game plans were trash. And he never found an answer. Over the last 2 months, they just ran the same freaking stuff every single week. He's got to step aside if he is the head coach of this football team. Coming up next, touchback rule. We'll bring that back up. And a question about Sirianni. Is Nick Sirianni getting a my bad year? I'll explain more coming up next right here. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Bye-bye to Sai. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Discover. Discover wants everyone to feel special with live 24/7 customer service. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply. The Eagles fired Sean Desai, and Matt Patricia also set to move on, as NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night. The Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai had been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. Rappaport and Tom Pelissero also reported that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. Now, with that defense, Jeremy Fowler reported that former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing for the Eagles defensive coordinator job. And then while we're talking about coordinators here, Derek Gunn is reporting that Brian Johnson will not be returning as offensive coordinator. Mike Garafolo had reported this weekend that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator job. And of course, we still haven't gotten direct word from the team that head coach Nick Sirianni will be back. So just a fun whirlwind of coaching news right now. As for the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend, being the Magic on Friday night, Hornets on Saturday night. Joel Embiid extended his 30-plus point game streak to 20 straight games tonight. The 76ers host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. Catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And a tough weekend for the Flyers as they lost a pair of games at home. One to the Avalanche and one to the Senators. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
When breaking sports news happens in Philly, we have you covered. Live updates, press conferences, insight, perspective, and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Wawa has pizza. And now get $5 off a 14-inch or 16-inch pizza when you order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app. Order varieties like pepperoni and sausage, each bubbling with melty mozzarella. It's always pizza night at Wawa, perfect for hanging out with friends or watching the game. Order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app to get $5 off any pizza starting at 4 p.m. Gotta have a Wawa. Bring in 2024 in a big way at Wawa. Get any 20 or 24-ounce cup of freshly brewed hot coffee for just $2. You can pour more of your favorite coffee, every mild, medium, or dark roast. And our new caramel cream-flavored coffee with notes of caramelized sugar, rich salted butter, and warm, fragrant vanilla. Go big with a Wawa coffee for $2. Gotta have a Wawa. Limited time offer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-385-9302 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-385-9302. That's 800-385-9302. What do you have to lose? Call 800-385-9302. Again, 800-385-9302.
Hey, it's John Kincaid, host of The John Kincaid Show and three-time cancer survivor. I want to thank all of you who have joined me in supporting life-saving cancer research by donating at aacr.org/fanatic. And to our generous corporate partners, thank you for stepping up and supporting the AACR, the official charity of the John Kincaid Morning Show.
Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors will do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable this season. For flexible spending options on a new HVAC system, visit nopaybryant.com. With over 1,500 windows to choose from, Window Nation can outfit any home. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. For 24-hour emergency service on your HVAC system and home comfort you can count on, visit carneyallseasons.com.
Donations to the American Association for Cancer Research from our listeners and corporate partners add up to big breakthroughs.
That was before the divisional round of the playoffs. The meeting never happened. They moved on to their second round of meetings. The only other team so far that we know that he interviewed with is the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans. I don't think he gets the Falcons job. I think that's Belichick or bust at this point for Atlanta. So the question is, does he get the Tennessee job? And if he doesn't get the Tennessee job, once more, Derek Gunn kind of pointing out there that he's not going to remain as OC, which I don't think anybody's going to lose sleep over. But if you hire a new OC, that offensive coordinator better have full say on the offense, because whatever Nick Sirianni's role was, it made Jaylen Hurts unhappy. It made Philadelphia Eagles fans unhappy. Did anybody have fun watching the Eagles offense this year? I'll bring back up the Commanders game when they scored 38 points, and I said it was the most boring offense I've seen. Did you ever have fun watching the Eagles offense this year, Ray?
Come behind wins a couple times, I guess, but it wasn't. It was fun because what they were doing.
What did you like? Right,
points.
Exactly. You were just happy they scored points. Like there was never a play where I went, "Wow, that's awesome." Or no, there were, but I remembered it.
Kenny G threw a pass.
Right.
That was fun.
But a couple of fake tush pushes that were sweeps. That
cool.
one that was a fake
that.
tush push that Kenny G pat. Like there was a couple of things, wrinkles here and there. I'm not asking for you to go, schoolyard BS every single time, but my God. I saw the Seattle Seahawks run interesting run plays against you. Split backfield, sweeps, all kinds of stuff. The Eagles just couldn't freaking do it because Nick Sirianni's on his high horse. Oh, well, it's what we've been doing. It's been working. Why would we change it? So I got a tweet kind of to that extent from Burrell Craig 30. Or Burrell. I'm guessing Burrell. Everyone gives Sirianni credit in season 1 for doing something he has no choice but to do and giving up the play calling. So now they think he admits when he was wrong. Maybe season 1 he just looked terrible, and now season 3 after the Super Bowl run he may have just become a little cocky. Now, once more, winning solves everything. When they're winning, we don't care about the antics. Like walking off the field in Kansas City. I don't hear you now, Chiefs fans. But when you start losing, and the camera pans to you, and he's just sitting there like, what the hell's going on? That's the problem. It's great when you're high and mighty when you're winning. It's the Michael Jordan line, right? It's great when you're talking smack up 2-0, but it's the sickos who are talking smack when it's tied or you're losing, right? Sirianni looked lost. And he kept on taking blame for everything. Sure, that's awesome. But I don't think he had an answer. And if he doesn't have an answer, how does the next offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator help you out? Unless Ron Rivera comes in as DC and he's also a former head coach and he's been through the wars like he has. I don't know. It scares me. So is Nick Sirianni, Ray, getting a my bad? And the reason why I say that, what I mean by that, he didn't demote Sean Desai. Come on. We've been lied to for months. He didn't demote Sean Desai. Howie Roseman did. I don't think Nick Sirianni said, no, don't sign any linebackers. I don't think Nick Sirianni said, yeah, you know what, re-blanket and then, we'll have a competition at camp for the other safety position. I don't think that was his decision. Jonathan Gannon stabbing the Eagles in the back and the Eagles losing, look, it's been reported. They wanted Fangio, right? So I don't think Nick demoted Sean Desai, but I think from the very beginning they wanted Vic Fangio. I don't know what Sirianni's role in promoting Brian Johnson was, but there was just a lot of fingerprints from Howie Roseman in which things didn't go well with the Eagles. Is he getting another opportunity as a my bad? And also we don't want to fire another head coach after a couple of years.
See, that's more where I think this is. I don't see it as a my bad because that will require Howie and Jeffrey to actually go with the my bad.
They don't say it publicly. They say to Nick, look, Nick already fell on the sword for the Sean Desai thing.
No, I don't think.
The reports are that he fired Sean Desai.
I don't think they package it as a my bad. They package it as hey, the structure didn't work out this year. The structure didn't work out this year. We know you took us to a Super Bowl, and we know that we could get this right. You just need to trust us that we're going to put the people in position to succeed.
Standards
and
to standard,
you go coach your team. I really don't think that they have it in them to go to him and say my bad. I don't. I don't think they do. I think they look at the roster on the field. They look at the team they put in front of them. They say, you know what?
I'm not saying they go up to him and say, my bad. Are they keeping him because they realize that they were part of the problem and that they can't just fire him based off of their own issues?
They can't just fire him.
Okay.
I think they just can't fire him. And also, okay, what can we do here? We don't necessarily have to fire him, but the way we go forward with this, we can continue to have our imprint on the team. We continue to do what we want to do with this team. Let him be the leader of it. And, we'll throw him out there for another year. We can't run him out yet, but we could certainly do a lot to change everything around him and make him exactly what we want out there. To me, it just seems like, if we take a little bit away from him, he takes a little heat, he keeps his job. We don't have to fire another coach. And then maybe they come back next year and we figure it out with him. And it all turns into a nice, fun story about how we were loyal to a guy.
Until they start 2-4 and then he gets fired and then we're going down the spiral all over again. To which you have a poll up and running, Ray. I asked the question, is this team closer to the dark days or was this just a blip in the radar? Because I do believe they can get back on the right track. I do think they need a new head coach. That's not going to happen. The talent's too good on this team. You bring in the right coordinators, maybe they'll all work together, and everything's kumbaya all over again. But the similarities of 2019 are happening right now. The Jaylen Hurts story from Joe Santoliquito about how there's people that aren't necessarily rocking with Jaylen Hurts and how Jaylen Hurts has a lot of his own issues inside the locker room. There's issues between GM and head coach. The GM probably has his fingerprints over a lot more than we even know about. So, Ray, what's the poll looking like on the midday count?
All right, the poll, are we close to the dark days of Eagles football, or was the end of this season just a blip on the radar? Dark days on the way is now up to 41% of the vote.
Oh, my God.
Birds will bounce back at 59% of the vote.
I was shocked when it was 38%. I was awaiting the "you guys suck" tweet. Oh, my God, I hate this station. I hate you. Blah, blah, blah. Philly media will be the death of us. Blah. 41%? And I'm not at dark days, man. I think they rewrite the ship.
One ominous thing.
All right.
We got the classic bookmark. There's one bookmark.
Ah, okay.
Someone wants to come back to this.
Now, it's funny. I remember after the Wentz saga, I was doing the show with Anthony. And we were trying to figure out why everybody thought a team that looked like should have won 6 games. I will once more remind you that the Eagles in year 1 of Sirianni should not have made the playoffs. They beat trash teams toward the end of the season. They were dealing with COVID, the teams that they were facing, injuries to quarterbacks. It was a mess down the stretch. But they made the playoffs, and everybody was excited. And I realized something, that nobody believed that the dark days were ahead of us because we hadn't seen the dark days. We didn't know what the dark days were like. So, Ray, let's go our lifetime, which has been a long time now. The last time there were true dark days of Eagles football was the last 2 years of Ray Rhodes. 6-9-1, then they go 3-13, right? Even before that, man, the 80s and 90s with Buddy, they're winning double-digit games. So, year 1 of Andy Reid, they go 5-11. All right, new head coach, happens, right? Year 1 of a new head coach. Then in the next 5 seasons, they win double-digit games. That 5th season, they lose in the Super Bowl. The following year, they fall to 6-10, but don't forget McNabb gets hurt that year. So you chalk it up. All right, your franchise quarterback got hurt. That's why you go 6-10. Comes back the next year, you go 10-6. The following year, you go 8-8. So disappointing season, right? This team's too good to be going 500, but they go 8-8. But 8-8 isn't 5-11. It's not 3-13. 9-6-1 the next year. They lose to the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game. 11-5, 10-6, 8-8, and then Dream Team year, 4-12. Andy Reid gets fired. we're thinking, oh no, what are they going to do? They're in cap hell. They just had this dream team. You just fired the head coach that's been here since '99. What are you going to do? Chip Kelly comes to town. 10-6, 10-6. Unfortunately, missed the playoffs the second year, but 2 10-win seasons. Then they go 7-9. Oh my God, you'd have fired Chip Kelly. We're going to go in the dark days again. Peterson, Wentz goes 7-9. You chalk it up to, all right, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. By the way, they were okay for a 7-9 team. They were, 3-0? Start the year? Then you freaking win the Super Bowl. 9-7, 9-7, then 4-11-1. And that's when I thought the next year we were going to reach the dark days. And they go 9-8, make the playoffs. They go to the Super Bowl the next year. We don't know what the dark days are, man. We really don't. We've been blessed. Under the regime of Jeffrey Lurie since 2000, we've been blessed with this football team. And so I was kind of on the other side. I thought the dark days were coming. People didn't want to believe it. I'm shocked that 41% of people believe the dark days are coming with the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm curious where that comes from.
And they're bringing the head coach back.
I think that might be what it is. I think it's the faith in the head coach.
Oh, my God.
I think that's where it has to come back to. Like, I can't really justify another side. I know I pointed this out to you last week. You bring in new coordinators. Tough to bet 1,000 on that the way they have.
Right, that's true.
You talk about replacing guys on this defense. Tough to bat 1,000 there or bat as close to 1,000 as you possibly can to make that work. Like, it's going to be difficult to rework this to put this in a position where I go into next season like, yep, let's talk Super Bowl again. But then again, this was a team that was 10-1, and this is a team that's got a franchise quarterback.
10-1, and then they fell apart because I think a lot of it was leadership fell apart. And it starts with the head coach.
And starts with the head coach, and if he comes back, I think that's why people start to say, well, what does this guy have? What's the juice? And for some people, it's, well, they're going to miss out on all these great candidates, and that's going to be, next year, if we have to do this process all over again, who are they going to end up bringing in?
Right. It also might not just be the head coach. It might also be the quarterback. Let's go to Derek in Las Vegas. What's up, Derek?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing today?
I think I led right into your call perfectly.
Yeah, you perfectly led into it. Because I was just about to say, like, what he just said, we have a franchise quarterback. Are you so sure about that? Like, I don't know if we're really sure, but we have a guy that's paid like a franchise quarterback. Like, it's the most absurd thing. We literally stumbled into Chip Kelly and Carson Wentz at the same time. Like, we didn't last time we had them both in different roles, but this time we got them both at the exact same time. Like, that's the most absurd thing. Like, how, like this Jaylen story coming out, like it now everything makes sense. Like it adds up. It adds to the story. Like, this is what the season was. Like, Jaylen got paid, and like at the end of the day, he was acting like a prima donna. A prima donna expletive.
A prima donna expletive, according to the story from Joe Santaliquito.
Yeah, let's call the spade what a spade is. Like, the saddest thing is, like, this is like the whole story now. It's like it's basically the Carson Wentz in reverse, and that you have. Like, it's the races are reversed now. Like, you got the black people, and they got to defend Jaylen. Like, oh, no, he's great. Like, I don't know about that. Guys, like, I really don't know about that. He doesn't look like any of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And if he doesn't get significantly better next year, how are we going to keep saying that he's a top 10 quarterback?
Right, and I do believe, Derek, I said this at the beginning of the show when we were going through this article, I do believe the coaching staff put him in a terrible position, especially their game plans against the blitz. But when things were going well, he still didn't look like himself last year. And if we're doing the comparisons of Hurts and Wentz, I don't think the organization put Wentz in the right position either. Now, Wentz fell apart, and Wentz went on a downward spiral, and he's been since cut by 2 teams. I don't think that would be the case here in Philly with Hurts.
I would hope not. Like, that's the hope is that doesn't happen. Like, we have a whole next year. But the sad thing is we're bringing back Sirianni. Like, if you look at this, like, we're literally setting it up that we're going to end up having to replace the coach and the quarterback at the same time. Like, that's basically what this coming down to. Like, we're going to.
I would imagine. I would have to imagine. Thanks for the call, D. I would have to imagine. Look, Lurie and Roseman do know more than us. I would imagine they know what the relationship is between Sirianni and Hurts. I hope it's not as fractured as these stories kind of make it out to be. And that's why there may have been that recent spin that it was Hurts and Brian Johnson are no longer seeing eye to eye to try to make it seem better for Sirianni. Now, if Hurts and Sirianni aren't seeing eye to eye with offensive game planning, well, then that's part of the solution to which Sirianni has to come up with, because you're not getting rid of Jaylen. It is just interesting that I feel like we're doing deja vu, man. It's just now I'm in this chair and you're out of college.
Yeah.
You're out of high school.
Out of college. Thank you very much. Yeah, and then going back, the lukewarm endorsement of Jaylen Hurts.
Yeah, he didn't really go to bat for Sirianni.
No, and you start to read into all those things a little bit more. And again, I really am not going to start the we got to move off of this guy. We got to think about what the quarterback is here. I really do think the coaching was a massive issue with why he took a step back. I think it didn't help that he played on one leg for what it felt like the entire season.
Well, he was playing better when he was on the the one leg.
I can't get myself to the point of wow, like this guy is he's part of what went wrong this season. He deserves blame for this season and for what happened. Like, that Seattle game, to me, I don't care that they allowed Drew Lock to go 92 yards, in 90 seconds. Hurts throwing that pass to Quez Watkins, and Hurts and the improvisation.
He was the one making the throws.
AJ
man.
Brown.
Yep.
That you can't have that. He's to blame for that game, certainly, and he shares his blame in this season. But overall, while we sit here and have this conversation about him, if he changed after the contract, there is, I don't think it's like a permanent change where I think, this is who he is forever for the rest of his life. There is room for growth, and I think this season is a great example of growth.
I told you. You know what? I think we all need to doubt him again.
Oh,
how many times have I brought up?
Go. Yeah,
I need the hoodie back.
No.
I need the hoodie back. Keep doubting, or whatever the hell that sweatshirt was.
You take the example of this season. You say, look what happened. Listen, this is a great example of, hey, you gotta grow from this. You gotta find yourself past this. I don't need people to doubt it. There's gonna be people doubting him anyways. It's all the people that never really bought in, that were waiting for a moment to creep out. They're back.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. That part is true. I think there might be more. I talk about how now that Nick Sirianni, we're going to be watching him under a different light this year. Right? When you're going to the Super Bowl, no one's going into the next regular season. Like all these callers you want to talk about people coming out of the woodwork? Oh, I never liked Nick Sirianni. You weren't saying that when they're in the Super Bowl, right? But now going into this season, you're going to look at him a lot differently. When people saw C.J. Stroud play in the playoffs, because it's not like people were locked into Texans games all that much this year. When people saw the way your boy Jordan Love threw the football, even I tweeted out against the Cowboys game. He made an Aaron Rodgers-like back foot throw where he just kind of flicked his wrist 25 yards downfield, like it was nothing. Whereas Hurts has to put his entire body into a throw, it seems like sometimes, which I'm not complaining about it. But people are going to start seeing how other quarterbacks are playing. And now Jaylen Hurts will go into this season under maybe a different microscope, maybe like the one it was 2 years ago. He doesn't have to play the way that he did in 2023, runner-up for MVP. But he's going to have to play more like a top 10 quarterback to have the city backing him again. He didn't play great this year. He's part of the reason why you had a demise.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just coaching staff.
Not taking that, I'm not eradicating the blame from him. Just when we look at it next season, unfortunately, Sirianni still being here, if that is the end result of all this, we're going to have to continue to examine their relationship, his relationship with the offense, and what he does to the game planning, what he does on game days. Like, you can't escape this now. The question will constantly be, what is Hurts doing? What is Sirianni implanting on whatever play caller he has? And what power does that person have? The dynamic in that room is problematic for success.
Big time.
Just pulling one person out of that room and replacing them, it really better be a strong, strong voice to go into that room.
And that's why I say Lurie and Roseman would know more about the Sirianni-Hurts dynamic, but we don't know it, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on it. Now, what happens first? Hurts rolls right because the play breaks down or bubble screen. What happens first in the 2024 Eagles season?
Rolls right.
That's what I'm saying.
Rolls right. Yeah. No, we're not.
Or does Sirianni go, I'll show them. Like the way they did with Mariota. I'll show them.
Oh,
We're going to have Mariota throw a bubble screen. First play.
They throw the ball down the middle of the field, or the first game comes to a close.
Well, that better happen. Did you see the throw charts? Somebody, I think it was Eagles Nation, put out all the throw charts from all the quarterbacks in the wild card round, divisional round of the playoffs. They're all throwing in the middle of the field. Except Hurts. Boop, 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 sidelines, nonstop. It's a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Mondays presented by Pierce Phelps, Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors with NoPayBryant.com for flexible spending options, a new heating and cooling system. I love how one of the comment sections for the callers that we'll get to coming up, Sirianni's a bum. We'll talk more about Nick Sirianni coming your way next. The Jaylen Hurts story from Joe Santoliquito about how he might be an issue inside the locker room all of a sudden. There is more and more finger pointing. I said to you last week, or 2 weeks ago, before the loss of the Buccaneers, you think there's finger pointing now? Imagine if they lose a playoff game. This is only going to get worse, guys. Maybe that's why there's 41% of you saying that the Eagles are closer to the dark days and that this wasn't just a blip in the radar. Talk about it all next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A lot of coaching updates. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Wendy's. The Wendy's Biggie Bag comes with your choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher. So, to recap what we've heard over the last 24 hours, the Philadelphia Eagles fired defensive coordinator Sean Desai. Matt Patricia is set to move on. And now we got news on Brian Johnson. Let's go start with Desai. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport first reported last night that defensive coordinator Sean Desai had been fired by head coach Nick Sirianni. That report was followed up by Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, reporting that senior defensive analyst Matt Patricia is no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. Now, as for today, Derek Gunn reporting that Brian Johnson will not be returning as offensive coordinator. So that opens up where this team goes next. Jeremy Fowler reporting former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing for the Eagles' defensive coordinator job. Mike Garafolo over the weekend reported that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles' offensive coordinator job. This all coming while we still have not gotten anything definitive from the team about the status of head coach Nick Sirianni. So one has to wait for that one. Now, moving towards the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend, being the Magic on Friday night and the Hornets on Saturday night. Tonight, the Sixers host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. You catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philly Hot Stove Show with Ricky Vitalico. Brought to you by Alpha Men's Center. Coming up Wednesday night at 6 after the best show ever. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, you can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value
And
Right.
it's a weird dynamic. I don't even know if you'd want this job. All right, let's go to Pat in the Northeast. Pat, you're on the Fanatic.
Yo, what's up?
My man, Pat. How you doing, brother?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good.
I couldn't agree with you more that I think it's a terrible decision to bring him back as a head coach. I said earlier when I called in, I think he's a lame duck coach. I'm not really sure what he does well at this point. I mean, he doesn't call plays on the offensive side of the ball. He's an offensive-minded coach. He's clearly not calling plays on the defensive side of the ball, which no one's expected him to. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to call plays on your respective side, then you got to be a great leader of men, which we've seen this year he's not, or a great game adjuster, which, again, the last 7 weeks of the season was awful.
He had 2 months to come up with a plan. 2 months. And he never did. That, to me, is a fireable offense. 2 months. And now they're giving him 2 weeks to try to come up with a plan for coordinators. The plan for me is, hey, dude, you couldn't figure anything out in game, so see ya.
Exactly. And it's just crazy to me that, we've never had this much talent on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, in my lifetime. I mean, I'm only 24, but still, I mean, that's enough years to look at it and say, all right, we got this much talent now. We should be able to do something. And he says all year, this is don't put the blame on Brian Johnson. This is my offense.
My offense. Yep.
Offense. Well, guess what, man? Eventually, if you're going to fall on the sword that much, where's the accountability? Where is it? I'm disgusted by it.
Well, Pat, we might be able to get an answer. Because on Wednesday, Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman will meet with the media. Pat?
That's big. We need a lot of answers.
That means Nick Sirianni, without the official word yet, will remain as head coach of your Philadelphia Eagles. So that lame duck head coach is going to be back. I appreciate the call. Per Jeff McClain, the Eagles announced that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman will meet with reporters on Wednesday for their season-ending news conference. I hope it happens during the show. Another indication the head coach is coming back for a 4th season. Once more, it's a mistake. It is a mistake to bring him back. I'm sorry to say it. Seems like a great guy and all. I think it's a mistake to bring him back. I think we have another Brandon Staley situation on our hands. Brandon Staley should have been fired last season. They bring him back. They allow him to hire the coordinators. They go off to a slow start. Season's in shambles. They fire him. They now have to start all over again. And they have a nice quarterback in Justin Herbert. At least we think. We're now going to watch Nick Sirianni under a much different lens. Every single mistake that happens, we will be calling for his job. I know Howie Roseman has a lot to do with this. We know that Howie Roseman's job is safe. I think the Eagles are asking for a world of troubles by bringing him back. They could find some great offensive coordinator that changes everything. And that will be great. And everything will be sunshines and rainbows again. But, man, right now, I think this is a mistake. The quarterback is unhappy. No shock that Ralph Acciano all of a sudden tweets out this weekend that Jaylen Hurts and Brian Johnson weren't seeing eye to eye. It's because Howie Roseman likes to work the media. But then again, this story comes out about Jaylen Hurts. He's going to have to answer about that on Wednesday. Wednesday's press conference is going to be fascinating. I hope a reporter asks who actually made the decision to demote Sean Desai and promote Matt Patricia. I hope we hear some answers about Jaylen Hurts. I hope we hear answers about just how far or how close Nick Sirianni was to being given the boot, getting out of here. And I know Howie Roseman won't give too much, but my God, you better have a freaking plan this offseason. Because it's not just about coach and coordinators, which I know we've talked about a lot. Pretty soon, I meant to get to it today. There's an article on ESPN.com. It's an ESPN Plus account, and I'm pretty sure it was written by Tim McManus, the Eagles portion of it. But they did a breakdown for every single team that's not in the playoffs anymore. Obviously, there's only 4 teams left, so 28 teams, and what they have to do this offseason. We're going to have a lot of offseason conversation about roster because there's a lot of turnover coming. And Howie Roseman and the Eagles better have a clear plan of what they want to do. Or those dark days of Eagles football that we're worried about, that 41%, I just checked it again, 41% of you are saying are coming. Oof. That scares me. Looks like Nick Sirianni's back. Would love to get your reaction. I think it's a mistake. I will not all of a sudden change my opinion just because he's back. I believe it's a mistake. He and Howie Roseman will speak to the media on Wednesday. 610-632-0975. I'm sure Eddie in Levittown's thrilled. What's up, Eddie?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, man?
Yeah, man. Listen, it's like I was telling the guy when I first called in. I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm an Eagles hater, right? I'm a Steelers fan.
Okay.
The thing is, how do you guys go from it's like a typical Eagle move, man. Like, get rid of the guy. He had a great season last year. All right, whatever. Yeah, they had a good squad. But then the beginning of this year, 10-0 start? And then now, they lost and he's the worst? I mean, doesn't it come down to the players? I don't understand Eagles fans. I mean,
so you're pro Sirianni. It says here that Sirianni's a bum. Okay.
No, yeah. No. I'm in either one. You know what I mean? So I could care less. Like I
Look,
said,
here's all right. So you're not living it the way we are, right? Like you're a Steelers fan, so I'm not expecting you to, right? So they're 10-1. You're right, and everybody's happy, even though there were people that were always kind of concerned about the offense because it didn't look great, the defense didn't look great. When you go from 10-1 to 11-6, Eddie, I want you to think about this from your perspective. I know Mike Tomlin's going to be there till he's 100 years old, but if your team goes from 10-1 to 11-6, and there's no answers. Over 2 months, Eddie, we were talking about the lack of play design. That's Nick Sirianni's offense. We were talking about the game plan not being well. That's Nick Sirianni's offense. We were talking about finger pointing and disruption inside the locker room. Nick Sirianni's supposed to oversee all that kind of stuff. We're talking about a defensive coordinator getting demoted that he says he was the one that made the decision, and that new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, ended up being worse, right? All of this is falling under the umbrella of Nick Sirianni. They go from 10-1 to 11-6 and get embarrassed by the Buccaneers. Embarrassed, to which they score 9 points. An offense that has Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, that offensive line, Jaylen Hurts, those running backs with DeAndre Swift, you underutilize them. Of course you're going to feel a certain type of way, Eddie.
I agree, man. Well, look, dude, I'm with this. Look out. We're getting Russell Westbrook this year. We're going all the way. Me and Brian Blair, we're taking
Russell Westbrook's going from the NBA to the NFL?
Russell Wilson.
Appreciate the call. Come on, man. You got to come in here and talk smack about how we don't know what we're talking about, and you're going Russell Westbrook's playing quarterback for the Steelers. Come on, man. Yeah, you got to come in stronger than that.
Also, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's yeah, come on, man. Steeler country, let's ride.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. I love, though, that it's going to be another offseason about where Russ is going to cook next. Really enjoying that. Really, really going to enjoy that.
Is there, let me ask you, is there I understand we're cross-state rivals, cross-state rivals.
Right.
Flyers-Penguins is a rivalry.
Yeah.
Phillies-Pirates, maybe back in the day, 70s and 80s, the We Are Family Pirates or whatever. That was a long time ago. Is Eagles Steelers really like a no? Like when I see a Steelers fan, I go, "Oh, what's up, man?"
Yeah, I mean, it also kind of helps that they keep having the winning seasons, but it's not one of those we're gonna have to see them at the end,
right? But there's no rivalry.
Yeah, it's nice, good for them, I guess.
Look, Eddie's in Levittown, so he's in the area, so he deals with Eagles fans all the time. Come on, man. Hey, give me Russell Westbrook. Playing quarterback.
I mean, that's tough.
Come on, man.
I thought maybe he was trying to sneak an NBA point in there before he went.
I know. And then I'm thinking, wait, the Pittsburgh who's the basketball team out there?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is he
fish that safe Pittsburgh? Dr. J.
3 for 4sman?
No.
Does he adopt the Sixers?
Maybe.
He's a fan of the state of Pennsylvania. That's what he is.
Right. All right.
But then you have to pick one of the Flyers, He'd be the type of guy that walks in the Wells Fargo Center one day for the Sixers and then one day for the Penguins. I feel like you can't.
It's always weird. Yeah.
I can't really justify that one.
McLean follows up, by the way, from the announcement that the Eagles will be having a press conference with Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. So that means Nick's probably back. He says it made little sense for the Eagles to announce that an under contract Nick Sirianni would return, further placing the onus on the head coach heading into a fourth season. But having to replace both offensive and defensive coordinators, Brian Johnson is expected to be fired too, and a number of assistants will do most of the suggesting. All right. So it looks like Brian Johnson's eventually going to be on his way out too, which means an offensive coordinator position is going to be open. And I know Mike Delran's been all over one. What up, Mike?
Oh, what's going on, guys? It's happening, man. I'm telling you, you don't let Ron Rivera leave that room without a contract today. You don't. You know what happened the last time we got a yes-man coach? We put proven coordinators around him, whether we liked it or not, with Schwartz and Wright.
Yeah, look, Schwartz was tremendous. And, people didn't like him because of bend but don't break and all this kind of stuff. He was actually very good here in Philadelphia, and look what he did in Cleveland.
Yep, and Frank Reich made Carson Wentz, who has the brain of like Campbell's soup, be an MVP caliber. So what do now? You take this yes-man coach who we gave two very unproven coordinators to this season. You give him Ron Rivera. You tell Ron Rivera, if you're Howie Roseman, you say, listen, you tell me what you want to do. You tell me who you want. We'll do everything. We'll work together. You report directly to him, not to Sirianni, right? And you let Frank Reich hold Sirianni's hand like a kid in the schoolyard all over the place, and you get Jaylen Hurts right. And I'm telling you right now, this team will be in no rebuild. There will be no issues. They'll be back to being a good team next year.
Well, and that's why I say that this was more of a blip on the radar. I still don't know about the Frank Reich. You've been all over Frank Reich, and look, if that happens, it happens. But Mike, I got to ask you because you're not just a big Eagles fan. You have fellow Eagles fan friends, believe it or not. I know you have friends. When we put out a poll, are we closer to the dark days of Eagles football, or was the end of this season just a blip on the radar? And 40% say dark days are on the way.
Mr. Robs, you know that. You've been around here long enough. That poll was
dark. No, but dude, I ran this poll a couple years ago and I got crap for it. Oh no, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Jalen's the second coming.
Nah, ever since we won the Super Bowl, we're soft. Did you hang up on me? Oh,
no.
All right, never mind. My bad. That was my phone.
Whoa. And what if I did, Mike? What if I did hang up on you, huh?
Hey, yo. Love you, brother. Go Birds.
How about that? Did you hear that? Did you hang up on me? Oh. All right, Mike.
Wow.
I'm just going to walk away because he's like 6'8", and I'm not.
Yeah, and I'm not helping you there.
You heard the tone.
Yeah.
A little disrespectful.
A little bit.
A little disrespectful. Of course, I'm letting you go. A little disrespectful that did you hang up on me there?
Yeah, well.
Maybe I don't want Frank Reich and Ron Rivera now.
No, that's what changed your mind.
I don't want Frank Reich. I'll just say right now, I don't want Frank Reich.
And Ron Rivera can walk out of that building without a contract. I'm okay to keep scanning.
Yeah. Yeah, do your due diligence.
Nothing necessarily against him. It's not that it's, I'm done with them if they make this, but it's...
I just don't, you're going to bring in Frank Reich, what? Nick's now comfortable. He's got his buddy here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of challenging of ideas in that room. Frank, you like that? Sounds good.
Sometimes tight relationships you can butt heads. But then sometimes speculation. Hurts and A.J. Brown. Not seen eye to eye. All right, we got one segment left before the best show ever comes your way at 2 o'clock. Nick Sirianni. It looks like he's back. As Jeff McClain said, you don't have to make an announcement that a guy who's still under contract is still with the Eagles. But he is speaking with Howie Roseman at the podium on Wednesday. That means Nick Sirianni's back, to which I believe still a mistake. I'm not going to all of a sudden change my opinion because the Eagles believe he's coming back. I'm not going to put the green-colored goggles on. No, they made the right choice. I always believe what they make is the right choice. I think it's a mistake. Your reaction to Nick Sirianni returning as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, 610-632-0975. And we got to talk about the touchback rule. I keep on pushing it off. Oh, man, Twitter was up in arms again last night. Oh, man, don't worry. Just because he fumbled the ball out of the end zone, he should get the ball back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports update.
Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman to meet with the media. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Wendy's. The Wendy's Biggie Bag comes with your choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich plus 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher. The head coach, Nick Sirianni, and general manager Howie Roseman are now set to meet with the media on Wednesday, which seems to indicate that head coach Nick Sirianni will return for his fourth season, but expectations are quite a bit of changing on the coaching staff. To work you through it, the last 24 hours, Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, has been fired. It's been reported that Matt Patricia had his contract, that he's no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. That has led to, so far, Jeremy Fowler reporting that former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing for the Eagles defensive coordinator job. Now, nothing official has been said about Brian Johnson, but Derek Gunn is reporting that offensive coordinator Brian Johnson will not be returning to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that coming after a Mike Garafolo report this weekend that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter would be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator job. Just a whirlwind of coaching news right now with that team. Now, as for the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend, and tonight they host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. You can catch the live call of that game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers play here. Every game home and away. We'll have the play-by-play tonight. Presented by Corona, official partner of the 76ers, the Phila Cerveza. This is the exclusive home for Sixers basketball. 97.5 The Fanatic.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, you can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value goes up. You're not paying interest for 5 years, and you get 50% off every style of window. Do your window shopping online at windownation.com. Every size, every style, every color. They've got all the options to fit your budget and your home. Call 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
Hey guys, it's Pat Egan with a question for you. Is your New Year's resolution to finally satisfy your partner? Has the bedroom life been pretty dull lately? Well, I think my friends at BlueChew.com can help with that. That's because Blue Chew is the first chewable that has you going from apologizing for your performance to getting rave reviews and high fives. It's got the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, and now they have a mint-flavored chewable that has the same active ingredients as Levitra and Staxin. The best part is there's no awkward doctor's appointments. There's no waiting in a pharmacy. You just head to BlueChew.com, you meet with a licensed medical professional, and then you get the chewables delivered to your door in a discreet package. In fact, Blue Chew is so confident in their product, they want to give you your first month free. Just pay for shipping. Head to BlueChew.com and sign up. And when you do, make sure to use the promo code FANATIC. Blue Chew will send you a month's supply completely free. Just pay the $5 for shipping. So what are you waiting for? That's BlueChew.com. And don't forget to use the promo code FANATIC.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Businesses of all types and sizes are saving money with Pico because Pico's got the financial incentives and technical expertise to help you reduce your energy use and to save cash. See how Pico's helping businesses like yours take greater control of their energy costs to improve their bottom line. Simply complete a customer survey on Pico's digital portal and an energy profile. The report will be generated for you, and this profile is going to provide specific recommendation based on your facilities, equipment, and energy use, with great ways to save while either maintaining or increasing productivity.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language? In as little as 3 weeks, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas? Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com.
Always night pads are designed for a perfect night's sleep. So you can do your bear hugging a pillow thing, your free falling starfish thing, your burritoed in a blanket with the AC blasting thing. While Always night pads with rapid dry do there, we've got your back with fast absorbency and up to 10 hours of protection thing. So while your period's doing its own thing, Always lets you do your sleep thing. Shop for Always in-store or online, wherever you get your pads.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Open enrollment is happening right now, New Jersey. Join the many residents who are getting quality, affordable health coverage through Get Covered New Jersey. If you need health insurance, this is the time to enroll. Get Covered New Jersey offers increased plan choices and more savings than ever. 9 in 10 people get financial help for plans that include preventive care, prescriptions, emergency services, and more. And many pay $10 a month or less. Find your plan at getcovered.nj.gov.
Vidian Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the most competitive pricing on Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, and Compass. Shop Vidian.com 24/7 or stop in today.
28 black energy drinks just hit the streets, Philly. Vegan, gluten-free, taurine-free, no artificial flavors. Now available exclusively at select local 7-Elevens and at drink28black.com.
On your way home this afternoon, the best show ever starting at 2. Now more with Andrew Salchunas on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 1:20 on this Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Monday presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. I'm Andrew Salchunas, the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Best show ever with Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Patalico, and Jen Scordo coming your way at 2 o'clock as they will continue to react to now what seems to be the decision that Nick Sirianni will be back as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're just tuning in, the Eagles announced that there will be a press conference on Wednesday with both Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. So they're not going to have a press conference where Howie goes, yeah, Nick's not coming back. He'll field some questions, though. Like, he's going to be here. He's going to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe that's a mistake. All signs point to Brian Johnson on his way out. So you're going to have to hire a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. And I understand that the record's been great. I understand that the offense looked great last season, 2022-23 season. They can get back to it, right? I don't know. Can they? Sirianni, it was his game plan. He was meddling with Brian Johnson. Not that I think Brian Johnson's some great coordinator either. I think they both were bad. I think both Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson were bad. Shane Steichen may be the second coming. So now you have to find another new offensive coordinator that might be able to make something work. And right now, really the only name that's popped up enough was Jim Bob Cooter. I don't buy this Chip Kelly thing at all. And if they do hire Jim Bob Cooter, we'll go through it. He was the coordinator with the Detroit Lions, offensive coordinator. He had Stafford, Calvin Johnson for a couple of years. And then when Calvin Johnson left, was actually the year they made the playoffs for the first time in forever. And the offense was actually top 10 that year in a lot of statistical categories. Matt Stafford was playing really well. To his credit, I mean, you didn't have many good players on that team. You lose a Hall of Fame wide receiver early, and they were able to do some good things. So maybe that's what they're going to try to hold on to. I don't know what he's been up to. I just know that he was he was with the Colts.
Yeah, they're OC.
That checks out.
Yeah. Yep. It's fun. It's a nice little trading game.
That checks out.
It's a trading game here. It's now
that's just amazing.
Colts hire offensive coordinator from Eagles. Eagles, when things go bad, go to the Colts offense.
And where was he before the Colts?
No.
As the passing game coordinator.
Was it Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
It was Jacksonville.
Where was he before Jacksonville?
Okay, so taking it back. KC.
No. How about your Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh. Huh.
He was a consultant.
Oh. I missed the consultant days.
That's year one of Nick.
Oh, I forgot he was here as a consultant.
I did too. So there's a familiarity there.
Oh, man. All right. Well, this has been fun. Glad that we had this whole search for an offensive coordinator.
If they hire him, look, with all due respect to the Cooter, it's just, I can't believe that they're going to bring back a guy just because he was in the building a couple of years ago. What? What's so funny?
Nothing was funny. Nothing. No, I'm just really pondering the
Mr. Cooter.
Yeah, I'm just pondering what's going on with the team. I'm not laughing at anything in here. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm disappointed in you and even thinking there was anything funny about it.
None.
Seems like you thought it was funny. I'm a mature man over here just thinking about what's happening with the team.
He might be your new OC, and it's shocking that he was already in the building and knows the ways of Howie Roseman. All right, real quick before we get back to the phones. I meant to get to this earlier. So yesterday in the Chiefs and Bills game, it happened again. And again, third time this season? We had the fumble that led to the touchback, Mecole Hardman Jr. So Mecole Hardman Jr. is being tackled at the goal line, sticks his hands out, reaching for the end zone. Goes out of his hands, goes out of the end zone, touchback. In a game, it was 27-24 at this point, right? By the way, I feel for Bills fans, man.
Oh, yeah.
Not only missed field goal, but an offense that, since they fired their offensive coordinator, came to life, right? Came to life. Josh Allen was tremendous down the stretch. First round of the playoffs, great. They get shut out in the fourth quarter. Unbelievable. But anyways, missed field goal. I feel bad for that guy crying. That was, my God, terrible. It sucks.
Great call by Nance.
Yes.
Wide right. Yeah.
But
you could hear Tony Romo tried to ruin it, too.
Yeah,
you could hear it. You could hear it. He was ready to get going.
I hate him so much. So Mecole Hardman fumbles the football. And once again, there's outrage. This is the dumbest rule in sports. What are we doing? Why are we trying to give the benefit to a player who made a freaking mistake? The goal in football is to cross that white line into the end zone. You should be penalized for going and reaching out for the overall goal, the final destination, and fumbling the football. You should not get the football back. The rule is actually perfect. You're doing whatever you can to get into that end zone. And you make the mistake, you should be penalized for it. And I'm glad that the rule is the way that it is. I am. And I know it's going to be looked at this offseason, and there was so much celebration because it happened randomly in, week 2? And then it didn't happen again until yesterday. People forgot all about the rule until it happened again. It's not a dumb rule. It's dumb when players reach for the end zone when they shouldn't. Go down. Was it fourth down? It was not fourth down. Rhetorical question. It's not fourth down. You live to play another down. I'm sorry. I don't understand why there's outrage over this rule. Your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, it's like clockwork. It happens. Twitter blows up. Oh, this is horrible. This is the worst. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. You see it it's one of those things when you know it happens because everyone has to tell you that it's a disaster. It's terrible. I hate it. It's ridiculous. Well, it's one of those things that, I don't think about until it happens, and it hardly ever happens.
Yeah, and then when it does happen, why are we trying to help out the receiver or a running back or a quarterback or anyone who made the mistake? Why are we helping that person out? But there's so much outrage by it.
Oh, I know. People get livid. It's very funny to watch. People having the mental breakdown about, this rule, it's so unfair. It's like, you lost the football. I get it. If you lost the football anywhere else, it goes out of bounds. You keep the ball. You are at the point where it's either you're going to score or you're going to be right there at the 1 yard line.
So hold on to the freaking football.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, this is the third time it happened this year.
Okay.
The first time was
Justin
Eagles-Vikings,
yeah.
and I already forget the second one. I do. I forget the second one. It happened middle of the season.
That was the last time we talked about it.
The last time we talked about it, we forgot that Justin Jefferson did it against the Eagles. That's how few and far between it happens. I forgot it happening against the Eagles where the Eagles benefited from it. I just don't understand the outrage of, this is the dumbest rule in sports. Don't reach out for the football. Don't reach out for the end zone. Be smart with the football. It's the end zone. It's to score a touchdown. It is to score points, which is the overall goal in this damn sport. All right. I digress. Eagles are set to interview another defensive coordinator candidate, Ray. This from Jeremy Fowler, Mike Caldwell, former Jags DC. So look at this. Jags and Colts. That's all it is. There's coaching trees. We just have a tree of working together. It used to be Houston, right? Howie used to just pilfer from Houston all the time. Now it's going to be Jacksonville and Indianapolis. This little trio. So Mike Caldwell is being interviewed. Jeremy Fowler said Caldwell will also speak with the Raiders for a senior defensive staff position with defensive coordinator flexibility should Patrick Graham get a head coaching job. If you're Mike Caldwell, are you taking the job hoping that you might get a defensive coordinator position because you're hoping another guy gets a head coach? Or are you just taking the DC job? Which one are you going after? Probably the Eagles gig.
Probably, yeah. I just love, when I think cutting edge in the NFL, I think Colts and Jaguars.
Well, the Jags were a fun defense to watch this year. They just fell. I mean, that entire team, they lost what?
Entire team fell apart.
Was it 5 out of the? They were the Eagles.
Yeah, they were. 8-3.
Yeah, they were literally the Eagles.
I think they did lose 5 of 6. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah,
and they lost the end of the season to the Titans.
Yeah,
they beat the Panthers the second to last week of the year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the last 6 games they lost
because they were 8-3. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Wow, they're not getting nearly enough heat here. Well, nationally, I guess, because we.
No, I don't even think nationally, because nobody. All due respect to the people of Jacksonville, nobody cares about that organization.
Yeah, I know.
When's the last time you put on ESPN and they're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Probably when they did the whole Trevor Lawrence might not be the guy we think he is.
And Urban Meyer. Because that was just that alone was a crazy story.
Wild conversation.
All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Frank and Ambler. Frank, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
How you doing, Frank?
I'm good. I don't have a problem with him bringing Nick back. I think the people who should be held responsible should be Nick. Howie should take some blame for it too, because
absolutely
because of that back seven, no linebackers, and those 2 corners that we paid all this money to seem to let us down, and also the safeties. Even though can't blame Blankenship, he's a step too slow.
Yeah, he's not good.
You know what I mean? So we'll give Nick another try, and I don't have a problem with bringing in these veteran coaches, but I think they'll have a problem if the owner and the general manager don't let them do their job.
Well, they better come into that expecting that, though.
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing. That's why we were talking about the DC job, whether or not it's actually a job you'd want. You have bad talent here. And also, the DC that was just here got demoted after going 10-1.
Right. And I don't. And now, how you fix that back seven?
Well, that's going to be a hell of a conversation.
How you
man.
fix that?
Yeah. Where do I begin, Frank? I appreciate the call, man. Where do I begin? So, you're not keeping both Slay and Bradbury. You're going to have to move on from one of them. Odds are they move on from Bradbury. There's the post-June 1st cut where it's only $4 million toward your cap. The next year jumps up to 15-something, but let's worry about the here and now. You can't bring him back. I mean, it was actually sad watching him just get abused on the field. I mean, a guy that was an all-pro, that was tremendous, and got called for a bullcrap holding call in the Super Bowl. And then this year was just awful after the first month of the season because he was all right to start. He had a concussion, and he missed one game earlier this year. And then he played against Tampa in the slot against Chris Godwin, which he did a great job. And then he just fell apart, and he looked old, so he can't come back. Linebackers, you're going to try Nakobe Dean one more time. Not that I think he was all that great last year when he was healthy. You're going to try him out one more time. I mean, you and I were going through the guys in the expiring contracts last week. You might need to bring back a Zach Cunningham just out of necessity. And if it's not Zach Cunningham, then it's going to be another vet on a one-year deal when you probably do draft a linebacker. I imagine they draft a linebacker this year, maybe in the third round, hopefully a guy that actually played football, not like Davion Taylor, right? Sean Bradley's going to probably come back on a one-year deal, but he's more of a special teams guy. And I'm talking Sean Bradley and Zach Cunningham here. You know what I mean? He asked me to fix the back seven. This isn't going to be something that's overnight. It's an easy plan for the offseason. You need to fix the back seven. That's the plan, but it's not easy.
No, not easy at all. Because, again, what you were left with this season was the third linebacker from a Super Bowl team and the third safety from a Super Bowl team. You said those are now our number ones, and our number twos, we're going to figure it out. And the way you figured it out was you looked at who led the league at tackles 2-3 years ago, and you brought him in at linebacker. And you looked at safety, and your first solution was, well, Terrell Edmonds has played a lot of games in this league. And when that didn't work, you were like, you know what? Trading for Byard. Let's see what happens there. And he didn't do too much to impress you.
No, he was actually terrible, and I still think he made a lot of business decisions in that Buccaneers game. And then the other question is, so who's this new coordinator? Is it a three safety look like Patricia was trying to do, and you lost Sidney Brown, right? Sidney Brown's not going to start the season.
Yeah, he's not going to start the season. Real quick, because I hear this becoming a thing, and I know we talk so much about playing the starters, and that was something we went back forth with in that Week 18 game. Sidney Brown is one of those where I'm not sitting there like, if you said they should sit the starters, I don't think you can take I was right about, because look, they're going to without Sidney Brown.
He would have played.
He would have played. Look at the safety depth. I've seen that. I've heard that.
No,
and
for me,
it's
more AJ Brown.
Right. Yeah. I got that. But there's just one, because I know that how our fan base works. And I know that, not addressing that now, like next year when he's not there to start the season, it's all because they played the Stars in Week 18. It's like, no, Sidney Brown would have played either way. He was going to be on that field.
He was going to play. As the number one safety, right? Like he was going to play.
Yeah, your options at safety were not exactly,
right.
Overwhelming in numbers just for what you had to trot out there in Week 18.
Now, one of the things the Eagles might have to do defensively is just a youth movement, right? Like, you're going to keep Slay. I imagine he's back. One of the two corners is back. I would guess Slay's back. I don't know what the deal is with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham wants to come back for the Swan Song season, but that's still only 20% of your snaps, right? So you still have Hassan Reddick. You still have Josh Sweat. So you have the 22nd overall pick, and you do have 2 second-round picks. 50 and 53. You have a third-round compensatory pick. Somebody made a good point, even though I don't think that's going to happen because it doesn't look like Brian Johnson's going to get a head coaching job. But James Lockwood earlier today said one more wrinkle in keeping up Brian Johnson, not just in terms of the, let's out of respect, let's hold on to him so he can try to get a head coaching job. It'd be a bad look if we fire him. If he gets hired as a head coach and leaves, the Eagles would get another compensatory pick. So a good point by James there. But then they don't have anything till the 5th round. They're going to have to trade up. They have 4 5th-round picks. 3 of them are compensatory picks. 2 of them are back-to-back. They're probably going to have to trade back up into the 4th round. Do they trade up into the 1st round? Do they see somebody? They have 2 second-round picks, early second-round picks. Do they see somebody that they like? I mean, or do you just try to utilize all your picks and draft a youth movement defensively? Because right now, other than, let's take a look at the guys that you think are solid football players. I'm not even saying great. Solid football players. Brandon Graham, all right, this might be his last year if he comes back. Fletcher Cox, is he back? Darius Slay, James Bradbury, one of those guys is gone. And then after that, everyone should be in a position battle. Is there anybody else other than Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis up front, and Jordan Davis has question marks? Is there anybody that should have a position battle on this defense? Or not have, Reed Blankenship was the lock safety to start the season this year. Remember that? It was Reed Blankenship and the competition for the second safety spot. He doesn't deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only place there is a competition is on the outside of the defensive line, really.
Right. So
because ultimately, if the
7 starters,
a lot of what happens with Davis and Carter, Carter showed you a lot early in the season. I think it was just, hey, this is the most football you played in your life. Davis, it's now a recurring thing, back-to-back years.
Right.
So,
but
okay, do you believe in Milton Williams?
Former first-round pick. Well, all right. So I'm thinking, if we're just going 11 guys, right? I'm not talking about depth. Let's lock in Reddick, Sweat, Carter, Davis. I don't think they're going to give up on Jordan Davis just yet. If they do, it'll be a trade. I can't see them just keeping him as a depth piece. Darius Slay, we feel comfortable with as the other cornerback, if you're keeping one of the 2. I mean, they brought in competition for Nakobe Dean. I don't know. Are the Eagles locked in on Nakobe Dean? I think that would be a mistake.
I think that would be a massive mistake.
So you have 5 guys. So that means you need to get 6 starters, dude. Because Zach Cunningham's a free agent right now. Even if he came back, are you feeling great about Zach Cunningham? No Nicholas Moreau. Blankenship, no. Whoever the second safety is, no. Whoever the other corner is, no. What, maybe Avonte Maddox?
I mean, you need influx of linebackers, an influx of safeties, and that's why we're talking about keeping a Zach Cunningham. That's why we're talking about keeping a Justin Evans. It's because there's you got to kind of fill the roles here. You got to find Ed. This is going to be, it's a big talking point on the defensive side because of the number of holes that you're talking about. Okay, I will feel awful if we go into next season with Nakobe Dean slated as he's the linebacker, and we're going to figure it out next to him the way they did this year. I'll feel awful. I really can't imagine them. Well, I can imagine the world where they do it again, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Right.
Because it's a possibility that terrifies me. We talk so much about the number of holes defensively. We're still waiting to know what exactly offensively holes you're going to have. Because, if Kelsey goes, you slide Jurgens over to center, and then it's Steen ready to go.
Guard.
And that's we start to get down the process of now we're really going to get the results on your last couple of drafts.
Right.
And we're going to start to really find out how well you think you did pretty good. How well did you actually do? And this draft is going to be a massive key. And some of these teams that we're watching right now, the Lions, and I know, they didn't make it out of the opening round, but talking about the Rams, their run late, they're getting themselves to the postseason.
Yeah.
Part because, hey, that team remember when it was, it's all over because they mortgaged their future. They were still able to find guys, bring in guys that
absolutely
built that thing back to a postseason team.
They hit on later round draft picks.
They didn't get they got as far as the Eagles did. They didn't win as many games in the regular season as the Eagles did, but you have to have those influx of young players. I only use them as the example because of the young players. You look at the Lions, the young players, and part of that is the deal they made with the Rams.
There's not many on the Eagles defense. The veteran players are probably on their way out. Like, I don't know if you could do another 1-year deal with Fletcher Cox. He might come back. He might not want to. I don't know what Fletcher Cox is like. Brandon Graham wants to come back. Do the Eagles do it again? Again, these are just rotational guys. Like, I'm talking about the stars.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With the defensive line, we're talking about rotational guys. Like, I'm looking so much like half the secondary, at least, has to be replaced.
Right. And, oh, by the way, these rotational guys up front weren't getting home. That's the other thing. Like, I know it's going to suck. Like, we might have to have a legitimate conversation about guys like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Now, Fletcher Cox actually had a very good season. Brandon Graham had a good season when he played. How much more could he play is the question.
Yeah, you can't play a ton more. But at that point, like, yes, you should not be relying on a guy of Brandon Graham's age. 15th year guy. How much is it, sentimentality versus actually bringing him in and, keeping him for his production. But also, hey, you did spend a first-round draft pick on an edge rusher. What are you getting out of Nolan Smith? And
Right.
again, this is not me going back saying, oh, this was a terrible pick. I don't believe in the guy. No, I celebrate the pick then. I still think he's a solid player. But
yeah,
did he give you everything you wanted, everything you needed in year one? Is that part of that because of where he fell in the rotation? Is part of that because he was still learning the league? Sure, but when you're a team that has expectations to compete, when you bring in a first-round pick, the expectation is they're going to help
They're going to have to
contribute.
play. They're going to have to really work out for it.
Especially when you have gone down the path of paying your quarterback.
Well, and that was the biggest thing when that contract happened for Jaylen Hurts. A lot of people were concerned about, all right, can Howie Roseman continue to build this team with draft picks, youth movement, and then obviously those veterans on the 1-year deal? And it's funny, we're so focused on the defense. You just mentioned the offensive line. You need to get another run. You need to get 3 running backs. Kenneth Gainwell's the only running back still.
Yeah, but
contract.
You know how I feel about that.
No, I understand, but all right, you're gonna have to get running backs. You're gonna have to get a third wide receiver. I'd bring one back. I mean, we don't. There's so many. There is a lot of turnover on this team, a lot of it. For better or for worse, I mean, defensively, like you knew that there was gonna be turnover. It's not like we're shocked that they have to make all these moves defensively. Just based off of watching this freaking season unfold the way that it did, we knew that they were gonna have to make some changes, but. The question is, how do they go about it? And that's another thing. Again, if you're just tuning in, Nick Sirianni is going to be coming back as head coach, which I think is a mistake. But he's going to be coming back. He's going to be speaking with Howie Roseman, or they're going to be speaking to reporters on Wednesday. We'll carry that press conference live here on the Fanatic. Howie Roseman's going to have to answer to what their plan of attack is defensively. There's going to be a lot of change. And is this team... Offensively, they're still talented. Defensively, like, the defense held them back a lot at points this season. Like, you should have beat the Seattle Seahawks, right? Like, that win should have happened. Now, Matt Patricia was defensive coordinator at that point. Is it almost worth just going full-on youth movement, drafting majority of the players defensively? Because that's more of an area of need. You know what the Eagles do. They're going to draft defensive line depth. They're going to draft offensive line depth. They should draft offensive line depth. You need to worry about right tackle of the future. You need to worry about guys like Tyler Steen. Is he actually your starting right guard? Or do you draft a starting right guard? Like, they're going to have to draft offensive line. They're going to have to draft defensive line. But then what's the rest of the draft looking like? They'll probably grab a receiver at some point. Because you know they got to get a cheap receiver if they're paying Devontae Smith. If they have both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the books, they need to find cheap receivers. Then the rest of the draft should just be defensive players. Now, do you feel comfortable going into a year where we just came off of a team that we had Super Bowl expectations for and bouncing back with, maybe 4 rookies on defense, 3 rookies on defense? 6 stars need to be replaced. 5, because Devontae Maddox is still here. So 5 stars need to be replaced.
I don't think I'm going to feel comfortable because I know the guy that's in charge. Like to me, I won't feel comfortable about Sirianni until until we get to the next season. Like, I think that's where it comes back to. Because like we're talking about a defense that's going to be young, it goes back to the talking point coming into this season. Offense has to be the driving engine. Well, here's your offensive-minded head coach. Who are they going to bring as the offensive coordinator, and how is that dynamic going to work in that room? And that's something I have to, has to be proven to me with what I see with my eyes. It has to be proven when we get back to next season, because you're going to need that offense to carry the slack for a defense that will be young and inexperienced.
Right.
And that goes back to your head football coach, who's an offensive mind, who we clearly saw have, he is of an offensive background.
Right, of course.
And has inserted himself quite a bit and is very, very vocal about the fact that it's his offense. And it'll be his offense that has to carry you once more. We came into a season already with a thought process of that offense having to carry you.
And
obviously,
that offense was terrible.
It did not.
At times.
It did not.
It fell apart. And that's why you start getting all these reports. That's why you start getting reports about how Jaylen Hurts is now an issue in the locker room, according to Joe Santaliquito earlier today. I mean, that's where we're at. So one more time before we get out of here, the poll on 975 Middays, we asked the question, are we closer to the dark days of Eagles football, or was the end of this season just a blip on the radar? I think the way the season ended, I mean blip as in they'll be back next year. We won't be as worried. I do believe that. I think it was just a bit of a blip, but I also was under the impression that they'd be firing head coach Nick Sirianni, and that's not the case. And so we'll see how they turn things around, because I'm now worried about Nick Sirianni's hot seat conversations in September and October. But 41%, and you have this running all day tomorrow too, which I appreciate, but right now 41% of Eagles fans believe that we are closer to the dark days of Eagles football. That's scary to me, that almost half of this fan base feels that way. Oh, God. 1 o'clock hour. Brought to us by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester today. Best show ever coming your way next. Tonight, we have Sixers basketball. I believe I'll be in attendance. I think you're going to be in attendance?
Yeah, I'm going to.
We got Wemby.
Wemby.
That's, fun to watch. Can't wait for Joel Embiid to drop 30 on his ass.
We're going to hit the weight room.
Like, there's no way Embiid can't just eat today down low.
I mean, the size of the guy might hinder that, but I'm not going to bet against Joel feasting. Dude. I don't know if you've been paying attention over the last 20 games.
I've been paying attention. Joel's going to work tonight. What's his hold on? Let me pull this up, because obviously if I'm going to the game, I got.
Oh, of course.
Gotta have
a wager on the old
action in this one.
Sports book.
Let's see here. Let's find Embiid's over on. Sixers are 14-point favorites, by the way. Embiid's over under's 34.5. Get better odds betting the over, by the way. Maybe you do a 30+.
Yeah.
In your SGP. Yeah, I don't see how the Sixers lose tonight. I would probably lay the 14.
Ah, dude. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm pretty bad with that. All right, well, I'll be at the game tonight, and maybe we'll see each other, right? I don't know.
I mean, that'd be cool. Wouldn't hate that, but I mean,
I don't know if I'm cool enough for you.
I said I'm meeting Bob before the game, so I can meet you too.
All right, well, I'll see you later, and I'll see all of you tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow's more fun. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The wait for Wednesday. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Discover. Discover wants everyone to feel special with live 24/7 customer service. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply. The Eagles, well, they have now set a press conference for both head coach Nick Sirianni and general manager Howie Roseman for Wednesday as their season-ending news conference, and that one indicating that Sirianni will return for his fourth season as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, but a number of changes expected to the coaching staff. It started on Sunday when the Eagles fired Sean Desai, and it was reported that Matt Patricia is now no longer under contract and in pursuit of other opportunities. On the defensive side, Jeremy Fowler reporting that former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera is interviewing for the Eagles defensive coordinator job. On the offensive side of things, Derek Gunn is reporting that offensive coordinator Brian Johnson will not be returning this season. And on top of that, Mike Garafolo reported over the weekend that Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter will be a candidate to watch for the Eagles offensive coordinator position. A lot going on in that coaching room right now, but the big news, of course, that Nick Sirianni seems to be returning for his fourth season, and we'll have a news conference on Wednesday. As for the 76ers, they won a pair of road games over the weekend. They're back at home tonight as they host the Spurs at 7 o'clock. Catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Big sports stories everyone is talking about in Philadelphia. The John Kincaid Show. Tomorrow morning 6 to 10. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TAP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text TAP to 321-321. That's TAP to 321-321.
You know, winter is here, and if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your living room and you don't want to be under layers of blankets and huddling on your couch, it's time. It's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replace the old windows. Get quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, and it's never been easier, and it's never been more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, you can replace the windows in your home, and you're going to pay no interest for 5 full years. That's a fantastic deal. And on top of that deal, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. So if you have 20 windows, you end up paying for 10, and you've got no interest for 5 full years. Now, they're going to make sure that it fits right. They've got a great installation team, and you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows anymore. Your home value goes up. You're not paying interest for 5 years, and you get 50% off every style of window. Do your window shopping online at windownation.com. Every size, every style, every color. They've got all the options to fit your budget and your home. Call 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
This winter, cozy up to a home that's perfectly yours with Preferred Pros. From skilled craftsmen and expert designers to top veterinarians and relaxing pools and spas, we've got the best recommendations for you. Let us help you make your dream project a reality. Your home, your life, our professionals. Connect with Preferred Pros you can trust.
Gerhardt's Appliances.